subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Flashing. EC believes that as long as he integrates too many swordsmanship styles, even the most basic slashes of these 4 styles can have ever-changing abilities. Although EC's understanding of kendo is too one-sided, swordsmanship is also one of EC's attack methods. For now, swordsmanship is still EC's main attack method. However, when there are more and more devil fruits, EC will definitely eat more devil fruits. By then, swordsmanship was just one of EC's many attacks. Therefore, even though EC's understanding of kendo is somewhat one-sided, slashing is indeed an important manifestation of a swordsman's strong attack power. The next day, sailing all the way through the calm belt was safe and sound. Finally, after 5 days, the warship finally arrived near the sea area of Giant Beast Island. On this huge island, there are a large number of ancient giants living here. And here is where EC chose to practice and fight. Roar! Ow! Just arrived at the sea area not far from the Giant Beast Island. You can hear the roars of the island one after another. Standing on the deck of the warship, EC and the others could clearly see the massive figures of giant beasts on the island. Stop the warship, Dylan, make an ice road, and a few of us will pass through the ice road. Looking at the island not far away, EC gave the order directly. Hearing this, the warship quickly stopped on this sea surface under the control of the soldiers. Dylan, on the other hand, jumped directly from the warship and stood on the sea. However, as long as you look closely, you can still see the white ice cubes under Dylan's feet. Air conditioning spreads. Ka 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 ka. As a low voice sounded, Dylan's feet suddenly burst into a strong cold air. The severe cold air started from Dylan, and with the sound of freezing, a 5-meter-wide icy road soon appeared. The end of the ice road is the Giant Beast Island not far away. Breathing out a breath of cold air, Dylan's face turned slightly pale. This time, the icy road of such a length was condensed in an instant, which was a bit too much for Dylan. After all, what he controls is only air conditioning, not ice. The air conditioning wants to freeze the sea, but it is much harder than freezing the sea with ice. In addition, his strength is now only a kernel level, so the consumption this time is still a bit large. Pat, 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 accompanied by EC jumping off the warship. Behind him, Avery and the 3 also jumped off the warship one after another. Go back and report to Abner. After waving at the soldiers on the warship, EC and the 4 of them walked along the ice road towards the Giant Beast Island. Behind him, the soldiers on the warship looked at the silhouettes of EC and the others who were leaving. Finally, under the command of a non-commissioned officer, the warship began to turn around and slowly left here. EC and the others didn't need the supplies on the warship. After all, EC put all the necessary supplies into the king's treasure long before departure. By the way, Orton, write a letter to my father and say that we have arrived safely. Walking on the ice road, EC seemed to remember something, turned his head and gave a command to Orton. Hearing this, Orton responded quickly. Understood, Your Highness. Afterwards, Orton contacted King Illo's secretary and reported peace. 10 minutes later, EC and the others finally landed on the seaside of Giant Beast Island. Looking at the dense figure not far away, EC's mouth twitched slightly. Next, the actual combat begins. As the figures of the 5 EC disappeared by the sea, gradually, there were often tragic howls in the Giant Beast Island. See Circle Calendar 1509. Before you know it, another year has passed. At this time, in the Kingdom of Helios, the prototype of the Kingdom of Swordsmen has gradually appeared. Under the training of a large number of basic swordsmanship training, manual noble phantasm, and a master of the kingdom's non-commissioned officers. In the current kingdom, you can see those beginner swordsmen fighting each other everywhere. Young children, teenagers, young people, and even the elderly without exception. Although the swordsmanship is a little immature, This kind of fanatical atmosphere of the whole people also makes people participate in it involuntarily. At the same time, the four armies of the kingdom also each expanded their strength by 500,000 troops. In other words, now, the kingdom of Helios has 4 million troops alone. The reason for the expansion of the army is because those people are all talented people. As early as the promulgation of the national cultivation policy, it was clearly pointed out that those with outstanding talents could join the royal army. As a result, the kingdom's army of 4 million has been created today. However, even with the expansion of the army, the kingdom of Helios is not a military force. With the support of a lot of resources, the development of the kingdom of Helios has always been thriving. Now, after the previous policy of multiple births, the population of the kingdom of Helios has exceeded 32 million. Even until now, there are still newborns being born in the kingdom. Not only that, the trade area that was gradually opening to the outside world has also slightly expanded towards the kingdom. What followed was that a large number of merchants came to the kingdom, which promoted the development of the kingdom's commerce. The development of the kingdom of Helios was smooth sailing, and on the other hand, the actual combat experience of EC and others was also near misses. Originally, it was planned to only train for half a year. However, people are not as good as God, and I spent a year in the Calm Belt before I knew it. Woo! At this time, a warship was staying at the seaside of the giant beast island in the Calm Belt. One after another whistle sounded continuously, but strangely, the entire island of giant beasts seemed extremely quiet. Swish! At this moment, a 100-meter-long black slash suddenly burst out from the woods on the side. Boom! The black slash did not stop at all and landed straight on the sea not far from the warship. The sea surged, and the soldiers on the observation deck on the warship seemed to see the looming undersea land under the sea in a trance. The waves rolled and rolled, so that the warships on the side could only continue to rise and fall. Ka. At this moment, the sound of icing sounded within a short period of time. I saw that the beach of Giant Beast Island turned into ice in an instant when the warship was located. The ice confines the waves and confines the warship, so that the surroundings suddenly calmed down. Tread ta-ta-tau, as steady footsteps sounded one after another. The figure of Marshal Dao soon entered the eyes of the soldiers. "I have seen your highness." As EC and others appeared, soon, the soldiers on the warship gathered on the deck to greet EC in unison. While a pair of bat wings suddenly appeared behind EC, the bat wings shook slightly, and EC appeared on the warship. At the same time, the four Dylans also used moonwalk to land on the warship. "Get up." Looking at the soldiers who were still bowing and saluting, EC's voice sounded softly. Hearing this, many soldiers quickly stood up straight. "Who is the captain of this ship?" EC asked, looking at the crowd in front of him. Suddenly, a figure hurriedly stepped forward and stood up. "His Royal Highness, the lower official, is the captain of this ship." "Huh? Is the North Army in charge of overseas operations now?" EC nodded lightly after looking at the letter North on the captain's uniform. "Exactly. You contact the captain of the Austin Army and ask him to send someone to the Giant Beast Island to take away those giant beast corpses. Now on the Giant Beast Island, there are no large beasts. Those large beasts are dead, and their bodies are frozen on the top of the highest mountain. These meats can't be wasted. Let them bring them back to the kingdom as reserves. As for the cubs, they don't need to be cleaned up." Hearing this, the captain responded quickly. "Yes, your highness." "Very well. Set off. Return." Nodding, EC gave the order to return. Following EC's order, the warship began to turn under the control of the soldiers and sailed towards the location of the kingdom. At this time, EC took a good bath and lay in an empty room. With his hands resting on the back of his head, he lay on his back on the bed. Looking at the ceiling, EC's eyes couldn't help but flash a light. It's time to set sail. 17. 1 year's progress. Return to the palace in the early morning. When the sun shines on the bed through the window, EC slowly wakes up. Rubbing his eyes, EC slowly sat up and stared blankly at the boundless ocean outside the window. "Last night, I was thinking about what happened after going to sea," so I didn't know when EC fell asleep. Yawn, opening his mouth slightly and yawning, EC got up and washed. Not long after, EC came to the worship restaurant and had a leisurely breakfast. While eating, EC opened his attribute light curtain to observe. Treasure of the King. Helios EC, 9 years old, combat strength, A-, ordinary vice admiral level. Physical fitness, B+, rear admiral grade. Swordsmanship top swordsman, / horizontal, vertical, / cut through the air, Conqueror's Haki intermediate. Shock, intimidate armament Haki advanced. Hardening, winding, external release, observation Haki advanced. Large-scale detection, breath lock, danger warning devil fruit. Vampire fruit advanced. Noble phantasm. Burial at the sea with a great knife sword, burial swordsmanship. 2-color Haki training manual, basic swordsmanship training manual. ID Noble Phantasm card over the past year. EC has not only stayed on Behemoth Island, but has sailed the calm belt every once in a while in a small wooden boat made by himself. Therefore, this year, EC's actual combat experience is not only those monsters, but also those sea kings of the calm belt. During this period, if it weren't for the existence of the airship Noble Phantasm, and the vampire fruit could fly, otherwise, EC would have died in the hands of those large sea kings. However, this great horror between life and death has also greatly improved EC's Conqueror's Haki. The practical experience in the past year has greatly improved EC's strength. Its combat power is already comparable to that of ordinary Vice Admiral. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still young and his physique was not strong enough, I'm afraid that his current strength is not as simple as that of ordinary Vice Admiral. Withdrawing his own attribute light curtain, EC used the Noble Phantasm and light-transmitting glasses to glance at the 4 Dylans who had just entered the restaurant. Dylan Combat Strength B, Rear Admiral Rank. Skills, Armament Haki, Observation Haki, Cold Fruit, Marine 6 Styles Avery Combat Strength B+, Rear Admiral Grade. Skills, Armament Haki, Observation Haki, Wild Lion Fruit, Marine 6 Styles Matif Combat Strength B+, Rear Admiral Grade. Skills, Armament Haki, Observation Haki, Tibetan Mastiff Fruit, Marine 6 Styles Orton, Combat Strength B+, Rear Admiral Grade. Skills, Armament Haki, Observation Haki, Cloud Fruit, Marine 6 Styles above the simple attribute light curtain of the 4 people. They all have the same combat power at the Rear Admiral level. It can be seen that in the past year, the strength that the 4 have improved is not a lot. And EC also roughly knows the reason. Not to mention Dylan's Cold Fruit. The other 3 are just ordinary Devil Fruit. In addition, the 3 of Avery did not have a natural strong physique, so their current strength can be said to have reached a bottleneck. Don't think that Zoan's fruit ability can all reach the level of Admiral candidates, or even Admirals. This kind of thing is simply impossible if ordinary Devil Fruit can reach the level of Admiral candidates. Does that mean that the ordinary animals living on various islands above the sea are powerful monsters? Therefore, Devil Fruit has an upper limit. Especially the upper limit of Zoan Devil Fruit is the strictest. Paramecia's Devil Fruit can be developed by relying on brain holes, so the upper and lower limits of Paramecia's abilities fluctuate greatly. Logia's Devil Fruit, even the weakest Smoke Fruit, Marsh Fruit, etc. have decent power. Only Zoan's Devil Fruit, whose Devil Fruit cap is completely fixed. A common species of Zoan Devil Fruit can only reach a common Vice Admiral level at most. This is because the normal Devil Fruit has increased its physique again after awakening. Otherwise, if the normal Devil Fruit cannot be awakened, its strength can only reach the Rear Admiral level at most. As for the Zoan Devil Fruit of the ancient species, its strength limit can only reach the Admiral alternate at most. After awakening, the demon fruit power of the ancient species can rely on its powerful constitution to hold back the Admiral level powerhouse for a short time. As for the Zoan Devil Fruit of the Eudaemon species, basically needless to say, as long as it can be developed, the Admiral level is appropriate. In the original work, even Marco, a Phoenix Fruit person who has wasted a lot of time, can have a few tricks with Kizuru, which shows the power of the magical Beast Devil Fruit. But now, EC pondered a little while watching Ellie's devil fruit frowning. Immediately decided to look for the ancient species to replace the current ordinary devil fruit for the three of them after going to sea. As the future commander of the kingdom's army, the strength of Dylan, Eli, and others must be improved, at least to the level of the elite vice admiral. "Good morning, Your Highness." Just when EC took back the light curtain of simple attributes in front of him, the four Dylans also came to EC. Yeah, hearing this, EC nodded lightly. "Don't be restrained. You can go have breakfast by yourself." "Yes." The four Dylans saluted and walked to the table. EC slowly finished the breakfast in front of him and returned to his room again. Being on a warship is very boring. So EC, who was tired of looking at the sea, went back to his room and rested again. Now, EC's strength has reached a real bottleneck. So even if EC is practicing, his progress is small. After all, EC is only the physique of an ordinary human being. Even if he has a vampire fruit, his physique can only reach the current level. After all, although the vampire fruit is also a phantom bee species, its focus is not on the physique. Therefore, if you want your physique to become stronger, then the vampire fruit needs to be developed to the top level by EC, or even awakened, so that it can become stronger again. The ability of the vampire fruit is more reflected in speed and life-saving. The speed is like the speed of sound. The blood can restore youth. The blood can heal the body, unfold the bat wings, and fly freely. Like the Logia, the bats can escape a long distance. This series of abilities is indeed a bit weak compared to the more lovely King Long fruit. However, EC doesn't really care. After all, with the treasure of the king, is he afraid that there is no way to improve his physique? After the warship sailed for a few days, the Crown Island, where the kingdom was located, was visible to the naked eye. At the port, when EC stepped off the warship, he saw Austin, the commander of the Union Army. "I have seen Your Highness." The moment he saw EC, Austin and all the soldiers at the port bowed and saluted. Seeing this, EC waved his hand and said, "No gift, just do whatever you need to do. Don't care about me." Hearing this, Austin and other talents stood up straight. "His Royal Highness, His Majesty the King, and the Queen miss you very much." Touching his head, EC was speechless. "Ah, father and mother, don't we have phone calls every day?" The phone bug is not a real person after all." Austin smiled and responded softly. "Okay." EC shook his head. "Then I'll go back to the palace first, and Dylan and the others will leave it to you. By the way, remember to tell them that they will leave for the sea in half a month." "Yes, Your Highness." Hearing this, Austin nodded and took note of this matter. Then, under the arrangement of Austin, a group of soldiers took EC back to the palace quickly. Dylan, Avery, Mastiff, Orton, the four of you heard that too. Seeing the figure of EC leaving and disappearing into the distance, Austin turned his head and said to the four Dylan, "His Royal Highness said very clearly that we will go to sea in half a month. By the way now, a brand new ship has docked at the port on the other side of the Grand Line. That one is the ship that His Highness set sail with you. In this half month, you should prepare well. Besides, after going to sea, everything will take the safety of His Highness as the first. Understand?" Hearing this, the four Dylan looked serious and responded in unison, "Yes." On the other side, after a day of fast travel, EC finally returned to the palace. "First, I took a hot shower under the service of the maids. Then, under the leadership of the chief maid Linda, they came to the royal dining palace. Here, King Illo and Queen Eliza have taken their place. Little EC come here. The moment she saw EC, Queen Eliza was overjoyed and hurriedly waved EC to her side and sat down. Oops, Xiao EC is a little dark." Reaching out and touching EC's cheek, Queen Eliza began to check if EC was injured. It's okay. Nothing else is wrong." On the side, King Ilo watched Queen Eliza touch EC here and there, and his face suddenly turned black. "That's right, he's jealous again." Cough, cough. After a light cough, King Iloa couldn't bear it any longer. However, Queen Eliza didn't seem to hear, and kept asking EC, "Cough, cough, cough, cough." Then a series of coughing sounds kept coming. Finally, Queen Eliza seemed a little impatient and turned to look at King Ilo. Are you sick? If you're sick, don't go to the doctor. Why are you coughing here? Uh. After hearing Queen Eliza's words, King Ilo suddenly gave a slight pause. However, after seeing a hint of anger on Queen Eliza's face, King Ilo immediately lowered his head and started to eat. EC on the side laughed lightly. He knew that neither King Ilo nor Queen Eliza were really angry. After all, the two grew up together since childhood, then got married and had children, and they have been in love until now. It's just some interaction between the two. 18. The idea of founding a country. The way to make money. Seeing that Queen Eliza wanted to ask about other things, EC reached out and grabbed her. Mother, let's eat first. I'm also a little hungry, and there's nothing wrong with me. Isn't everything safe now? Hearing this, Queen Eliza had no choice but to give up, then turned her head and glared at King Law before calling EC to eat the food on the table. After half an hour, the family of 3 finished eating, and the table was cleaned by the maids and served with after-dinner drinks. EC took a light sip of the icy watermelon juice before speaking to King Ilo. Father, I plan to officially go to sea in half a month. At that time, if there is any change in the kingdom, please contact me in time. Hearing this, King Ilo nodded his head and smiled lightly. Don't worry, nothing happened to the kingdom. Now, everything in the kingdom is on the right track and is developing at a high speed. Let's not say anything else. The strength of the 4 legion commanders of Diner and Abner is already very strong now. In addition, the royal army has now expanded to 4 million legions. Even if there are pirates, they can still be stopped within the sea area. Not only that, you should have found it when you came back. The people of the kingdom have basically received the training of the non-commissioned officers in the legion. Now, in the entire kingdom, there are scenes of swordsmen sparring everywhere. Although it's still a little immature, as long as it develops like this within a few years, the kingdom will definitely become a kingdom of swordsmen. After listening to King Iloa's words, EC also nodded lightly. In fact, on the way back to the palace, EC noticed the change in the atmosphere of the kingdom. Now that he heard that the development of the kingdom was not hindered by King Ilo's words, EC also put down his worries slightly. After all, the transformation of a country cannot be hidden no matter what. Fortunately, the current kingdom of Helios is remote, and the policy of opening to the outside world has been well controlled. Therefore, even if the spies of other forces were cleared, they did not allow other forces to conduct large-scale operations against the kingdom of Helios. And because of this, the kingdom of Helios was given some time to develop. At this point, after EC pondered for a while, he spoke again. Father, this time I go to sea, I shouldn't be back in a short time. Even if it comes back, it won't be long. So, the next development of the kingdom will be controlled by the father himself. Also, if the people have all learned swordsmanship, then open up the teaching of body art and the teaching of 2-color Haki. It is impossible for all the people of the kingdom to like being a swordsman. Moreover, the direction of talent is different from person to person, and everyone is good at different things, so it's a pity to watch the progress of the people's cultivation later, and gradually open up the teaching of body arts and the teaching of Haki, and build the kingdom more comprehensively. When King Ilo heard the words, he immediately fell into thought. After a long time, King Ilo came back to his senses. What you said makes sense. That being the case, Father will pay attention to these things when the time comes. By the way, since you're going to see in half a month, then you should convert the 2-color Haki and basic swordsmanship training manuals copied over the past year into Noble Phantasms as soon as possible. At that time, this batch of Noble Phantasm will be distributed to the school to increase the training of the people. Hearing this, EC smiled slightly. No problem. EC didn't care much about turning the training manual into a Noble Phantasm. In the Treasure of the King, there are countless Noble Phantasm embryos. If it is not used to the maximum, it is really a waste. Therefore, EC never asked King Ilo to stop transcribing the training manual. After the meal, after discussing the matter, EC returned to his bedroom. Sitting on the soft chair, EC propped up the tabletop with one hand and slowly turned with a pen in the other. Squinting slightly at the white paper in front of him, EC began to think about the next thing. There is no need to think too much about going to sea. After all, the goal of going to sea has been determined before. EC is now thinking about things after the founding of the country. That's right. Now EC starts to think about things after the founding of the country. Now, EC's own strength and the kingdom's force are constantly improving. In addition, the living standard of the kingdom and the strength of the people are constantly improving. Basically, as long as it develops according to its current state, in a few years, with the support of a large number of noble phantasms, the kingdom of Helios will definitely become a powerful country. However, if a country wants to develop externally after its founding, it is difficult to open up a situation without its own special advantages. When it was closed to the country before, it could still rely on the resources of the Calm Belt and the resources secretly traded in East Blue to be self-sufficient. But after the opening of the country, it was different. After the founding of the country, according to Ian's plan, it will accept a large number of refugees. EC is well aware that in this chaotic world, population is the driving force of everything. A large population means that there are many geniuses, which means that there are many people with special skills, which means that more things can be produced. However, it is not enough to receive a large number of people, because the resources of the kingdom are limited after all, and there will be a day when they will be used up. So, EC is now thinking about how to make money after the kingdom's founding. In this pirate world, although the technology tree is crooked, there are basically all kinds of resources that should be exported. Therefore, if EC wants to quickly open the kingdom, he needs a special product that is unique and extremely practical. While thinking, EC's eyes inadvertently saw a phone bug beside him. Suddenly, EC's eyes suddenly lit up. The phone bug is an animal that can be used for communication. It is shaped like a snail and has Madara dots or stripes on its body or solid color. There is a walkie-talkie or button on the top of the phone worm's shell. When it is not connected, it will sleep. During a call, the mouth of the phone bug will move like the mouth of the speaker, and some people's emotions can understand human speech. The working principle is to convert the human voice into the voice of the phone bug for long-distance transmission. The phone bug is a kind of worm that grows naturally. That is to say, it is a living thing. Although there are many kinds of phone bugs, there are communication phone bugs, image phone bugs, projection phone bugs, camera phone bugs. But at the end of the day, phone bugs are still creatures. Being a creature, it determines that his reproduction, if not super fast, will be limited. In addition, creatures can get sick, and when they get sick, phone bugs will stop working. And in this real pirate world, phone bugs are indeed limited. For ordinary civilians and pirates, if they want to own a phone bug, they will spend a lot of Bailey just to buy them. In addition, after buying the phone bug, you have to feed it, take care of it to prevent it from getting sick, and a series of logistical support. This has also led to the fact that the vast majority of phone bugs appear within the forces of large and small forces. As for other civilians and pirates, they can't afford these expensive phone bugs. And EC, the moment he saw the phone bug inadvertently, the word mobile phone suddenly appeared in his mind. Mobile phone, pirate world may not have any concept, but EC has the memory of the previous life, so EC knows very well what a mobile phone is. It's also very clear what the software and the like in the phone are. In the past life, EC was a mobile phone that traveled all over the world. Online shopping, weather, Didi, maps, calls, videos, news, payments, office work, photos, instant chat. If, in this world, a series of things such as data satellites, network signals, smartphones, and so on are invented, then the kingdom will have a steady stream of wealth flowing in. Moreover, if it is really invented, EC is not afraid of plagiarism. As long as everything produced is turned into a noble phantasm, then EC has absolute control. You can even remotely monitor everything about other people. Thinking about the major software that made crazy money in the past life, EC can't wait. However, EC soon calmed down again. It's too early to say this, and it still needs to be really manufactured before we talk about it. Fortunately, I have read some books on mobile phones and data signals in my previous life. With your own memory, you can probably write it out by dictation. Of course, there are definitely no details, only some concepts and the like. However, the scientists in the pirate world still have something. After all, the pirate world also has some black technology. EC believes that as long as he has enough scientists, these things can certainly be made. So, the purpose of going see this time will be one more: kidnap some scientists to join the kingdom's scientific research department. With this in mind, EC began to dictate the concept of those things in his previous life. As for whether it can be developed by relying on the concept, it depends on the scientists in the scientific research department. What is a satellite? What is a launch pad? What is data? What is a network? What is a signal? What is a cell phone? What is a data chip? With EC's arduous writing, soon, a blank sheet of paper was filled to the brim. That's right. After writing this, there's only a blank piece of paper. After all, EC is not a scientist, so how can he know what is accurate? Therefore, EC can only write it tacitly based on some concepts found in Baidu in previous lives. In the end, it's just a blank sheet of paper. However, EC believes that since the pirate world has black technology, it will definitely be able to create these things. If a scientist in the scientific research department is not good, then they will continue to kidnap scientists from all over the sea. I believe that with the support of absolute welfare and research conditions, those scientists will definitely join their kingdom. 19. Sail. Set sail. Linda. After reading what he had written and not missing anything, EC suddenly shouted. Ta-ta-ta footsteps sounded, and soon, the figure of the head made Linda appeared outside the palace. Your Highness, what are your orders? While he shook the white paper full of writing in his hand slightly, EC slowly handed the white paper to Linda. Send this piece of paper to the scientific research department and let the people in the scientific research department see if they can invent it based on the things described above. Make it clear to them that the things above are the highest priority. Hearing this, Linda quickly and cautiously took the blank paper. Not daring to look around, he slowly folded in half and bowed to EC. Please rest assured, Your Highness, Linda will definitely deliver it in person. Seeing this, EC waved his hand. Linda saluted again, and after leaving EC's bedroom, she quickly walked out of the palace to the scientific research department. In the bedroom, EC moved his body and left the bedroom with a few maids. After walking through the pavilions and magnificent palaces, EC once again came to the location where the treasure house of the kingdom is located. I have seen Your Highness. When EC arrived at the treasure house of the kingdom, a middle-aged man in armor and a bearded face stepped forward and saluted. Well, Commander of the Hebrew Army, long time no see. Looking at the commander of the Western Army of the Kingdom's army in front of him, who is also She-Mastiff's father, EC smiled and said, Yeah, I haven't seen each other for a year. Hearing this, Hebrew, the commander of the Western Army Corps, nodded slightly. By the way, is Your Highness going to take something from the treasure house? Do you need the help of a lower official? EC shook his head and said, I took more things this time, mainly to take away those minerals and most of the treasures. I plan to go to North Blue this time, and I will work with the Vinsmoke family when I find them. Currently, the scientific research department in the kingdom is not developing in the direction of armament, so I need to cooperate with the Vinsmoke family. And the things I build require a lot of materials, so I have to take most of the treasures and minerals in the treasury. Open the treasure house. After hearing EC's order, the Hebrews began to instruct the soldiers to open the gates of the kingdom's treasury. Rumbling as the door of the treasure house opened, EC's figure slowly walked into the treasure house. Without the slightest hesitation, EC entered the treasure trove of mineral storage directly. Look at the dazzling array of various ores and other mines where gold, silver, copper, and iron are piled up. EC waved his hand gently, and a large amount of mineral resources was collected into the treasure of the king with a wave. After taking most of the resources, EC walked towards the treasure storage treasury. Walk into the treasure storage treasury and collect a large amount of treasure again. With these treasures and/or resources, EC believes that he will be able to build a large number of laser cannons. By then, the countless laser cannons were the kingdom's deterrent. Any force that dares to offend the kingdom will be baptized by endless fire. After collecting what he needed, EC paused slightly as he passed the treasure trove of sundries. After pondering for a while, EC walked into the treasure trove of sundries. Looking at the neatly stored supplies, EC waved his hand gently and collected a large amount of fine wine and fruit wine. When sailing on the sea, there is always a banquet. After all, sailing the sea is very boring, and you need to organize some lively banquets and other activities to relieve the boring mood. This time, EC directly collected all the fine wine and fruit wine, and then turned them all into consumable noble phantasms. I saw that in the treasure of the king at this time, except for the 2 piles of treasure and minerals. Most of the items floating in the midair of the king's treasure are some alcoholic noble phantasms. The rest, part of it is some treasures such as sundries, such as tea sets, crystal cups, diamonds, luminous pearls, and the like. Finally, there are some noble phantasms, such as training manuals and the famous sea burial sword that EC often uses. After taking a general look at the contents of Wang Ji's treasure, EC shook his head helplessly. A good treasure of the king, used by himself as a storage library and a sundries library. But this is also impossible. After all, there is no noble phantasm in this world to collect for oneself. Without thinking about these things, EC turned around and left the kingdom treasure after confirming that he had not missed anything. After returning to the bedroom, EC entered the leisurely life before going to sea. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. In the past 2 weeks, the Scientific Research Department also responded to EC, stating that the manufacture and testing of satellites and mobile phones will be realized as soon as possible. Besides, EC has been walking around the kingdom every day for half a month. While strolling around, EC also experienced the lives of the people and listened to their opinions. Then, after integrating what he saw and heard for half a month, he added it to his kingdom plan. Now, half a month has passed, and the time to go to sea has come. When the sun fell on the port, EC's figure slowly appeared in the port. This is a hidden port of the kingdom, and it will not be open to the outside world. Therefore, at this moment, there are only King Ilo, Queen Eliza, and the commanders of the 4 major legions. At the docking station in the port, a huge sailing ship built entirely by Adam Baoshu is docked here. This ship was built by the kingdom over the past year. The whole ship is 100 meters long and 60 meters wide. It has an oval shape as a whole. It is a supergiant ship that combines sail and fuel. In the pirate world, the reason why sailboats have not been eliminated is because the weather in the pirate world is changeable, resulting in very strong winds generated by the changeable weather. Therefore, the sailboats have been reserved for sailing. Of course, it is also possible that the world government has blocked the pirates. In this world, if pirates and merchants only rely on fuel for navigation, there is no such thing as a supply station in the pirate world, so it is not realistic to rely only on fuel. The supergiant ship in front of him is a ship that combines sail and fuel. The sails are used for normal sea navigation, and the fuel is used only when it needs to pass through the calm belt. Standing at the port, EC was saying goodbye to King Ilo and others. EC, after going to sea, there are very few people in the kingdom that can help you. Looking at the meaning in front of him, King Ilo sighed softly. At that time, only the intelligence department of the kingdom will connect with you, and the others will basically not be able to help you much. In the future, this dawn will be delivered to you, and it will definitely be able to carry you back safely. Hearing this, EC nodded heavily, and then bowed slightly to King Ilo and Queen Eliza. Father, Mother, we will come back safely. Getting up, EC turned and walked towards dawn without looking back. The sea breeze was blowing, and the flag of the kingdom of Helios, which was raised high on the ship, rattled. The emblem on this flag is the flag of the kingdom of Helios. The national flag depicts a pattern. It is a golden sun rising from the sea of clouds, and the golden light shines on the sea of clouds. Everything is lifelike. Aboard the Dawn, EC saw everyone who had been waiting for a long time. Dylan, Ellie, She-Mastiff, Orton, the 4 capable men have already been waiting here. In addition, there are 30 maids, 10 cooks, 3 navigators, 5 helmsmen, 50 sailors, and 5 boatmen. These 103 people, maids and cooks, were all selected from the royal palace, while navigators, helmsmen, sailors, and boatmen were selected from the royal army. "I have seen your highness." Everyone, after seeing EC, said respectfully. Hearing this, EC's face smiled slightly. "No gift from now on. We will live on the same boat." The sailing and operation of this ship also depends on everyone's concerted efforts. "Now get ready to sail." Immediately, everyone responded in unison, "Yes." Afterwards, except for Dylan who stayed behind, the others returned to their respective posts. Woo! Soon after, there was a sound of a ship chirping. The dawn began to start and slowly left the port. Standing on the back deck, EC, Dylan, and the others waved, as well as King Ilo and others. Until the port was completely out of sight, EC and the others left the rear deck and walked towards the central area of Dawn. The entire Dawn has a rear deck, a foredeck, and spacious side decks on both sides. The location of the Dawn near the rear deck is a large living area. The living area is very large and is divided into 5 floors. The 5th floor is where materials are stored. The 4th and 3rd floors are the living quarters for sailors, maids, sailors, and others. The 2nd floor is the living area of Dylan, Eli, Shima, and Orton. In addition, there are some extra rooms on the 2nd floor that are reserved for the Apocalypse team. As for the 1st floor, there are oversized rooms and some empty rooms where EC lives. And near the front deck, there's a work area with a smaller footprint and living area. The working area is also divided into 5 layers: the observation deck and navigation point platform on the highest level. Then below is the boat inspection, the helmsman's helm, the galley area. In the middle of the working area of the living area, some flowers and plants are planted and decorated into a leisure area. After EC, Dylan, and the others settled down, they came to the front deck to lie on the lounge chairs leisurely. Just now, EC has explained to the navigator the destination of this voyage: North Blue. First go to Sabeti Archipelago, coating to New World through the Fishman Island, across Calm Belt to North Blue Mignon Island. When EC arrived in the North Blue area, he contacted the Apocalypse Squad. As of today, there is no news from the Key Squad. I think it is because Op Fruit is still silent for the time being. 20 destroy the pirates. Meet Kazan on the road the Dawn sailed all the way. In the vast sea, EC waited all morning without encountering a pirate group. Seeing this, EC was bored and could only liberate the sea burial knife and began to realize it. Dylan and others practiced on their own around the deck. The Dawn is very large, so the 5 people's cultivation will not be affected at all. As for other things on the Dawn, such as navigation, patrols, lookouts, etc., others are handled. After half a day, suddenly a siren sounded through the horn throughout the Dawn. Report: pirates appear ahead. Based on the pirates' flag and Marine's bounty, the pirates that appeared ahead are the giant axe pirates with a bounty of 30 million. Hearing the siren sounding on the Dawn, EC's eyes slowly opened. Wei Wei moved her body a bit and couldn't help making a crackling sound. "Have you finally met the pirates? Don't know if there is demon fruit power. I'm still thinking about doing some experiments." Through observation Haki, EC locked onto the giant axe pirates at once. "Let's go by." With a slight movement of his lips, EC's voice reached the back. In response, the navigators and sailors began to turn the rudder and sailed straight towards the giant axe pirates. As dawn approached, in the distance, the giant axe pirates also discovered the existence of Dawn. Report to the captain. There is a huge, unknown ship ahead. The members of the giant axe pirates who were having a banquet stopped one after another with the shouting of a little minion. What is an unknown ship? Is it a marine? Is it a pirate? At this time, the captain of the giant axe pirates, Rita, was furious when he heard the words of his little minion. What's the matter? Is there any ghost ship on the sea that can't be done? No ship yet. On the other side, in a place that EC did not know, a cyclist was riding over the sea. And now, EC looked at the giant axe pirates not far away and gave a slight gesture to the 4 Dylan. In an instant, the 4 Dylans understood what EC meant. How Dylan was the first to jump off the Dawn and stand above the sea. Cold and frozen, clack, 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 clack in the blink of an eye. The sea area where Dawn and the giant axe pirates were located was completely turned into ice. For the Dawn, EC is very rare, so EC thinks that the battle should not be too close to the dawn. After all, it wouldn't be good if those pirates were in a hurry to destroy the dawn, although dawn is made using the treasure tree atom. However, this is like having a car that belongs to you in a previous life. Even a slight scratch will make people regret it. So, even if the pirates couldn't damage the dawn, EC still didn't want to make some scratches on the dawn's hull. Therefore, EC decided from the beginning that in future battles, try to stay away from dawn as much as possible. At this time, after Dylan sealed the area with cold air, the three of Avery stepped on the moonwalk and rushed towards the giant axe pirates. Bang, bang, bang with a dull voice. The three of Ellie descended on the ship of the giant axe pirates. Who are you? How dare you attack my giant axe leader? I'm a big pirate with a reward of 30 million. The moment Dylan froze the sea, the people of the giant axe pirates knew that they had encountered a strong man. Now, seeing the three of Ellie falling from the sky, he became even more cautious. Pirates are also afraid of death. Obviously, the giant axe leader is now trying to scare away Eli and others by relying on her bounty. 30 million reward. Is it very strong? Hearing this, Orton couldn't help but snorted. Okay, no need to say more. His Highness is still waiting for us. Aside, Ellie shook his head and said. Hearing this, Orton quickly closed his mouth. Then, the eyes of the three flashed a chilling look. When the figure moved, Eli, She-Mastiff, and Orton began to kill. Tempest kick chaos. Shave bullets. Iron body fist. Whoosh whoosh accompanied by a sound of breaking air. The three figures kept moving on the pirate ship. What? No. No. Do not. I hate it. Damn it. I fought with you. No, my little Gigi. Help. Captain, save me. But in an instant, there was a series of screams on the pirate ship. At this moment, the giant axe leader's pupils could not help shrinking. Hearing the screams of his subordinates, a flame burst into flames in Lita's heart. Damn. How dare you attack me? I don't know when a short-handled heavy axe appeared in Lita's hand. After seeing She-Mastiff's exposed figure, blood flashed in Lita's eyes. With a grin, the giant axe Lita didn't care that She-Mastiff had his own men around him. I saw the heavy axe in Lita's hand swept forward fiercely. Puff puff, its tyrannical strength instantly split the two little guys into two. Clang! At this moment, a sound like a clash of gold and iron sounded, causing the giant axe and Lita to stop for a moment. What is this? At the same time, the figure of She-Mastiff gradually sounded. Its iron body, slowly turning around, She-Mastiff looked at the giant axe Lita with a puzzled face and explained softly. Look at it, this is the iron body. The voice just fell under the constriction of the giant axe Lita's pupils. I saw She-Mastiff's fist clenched suddenly and then hurriedly slammed down the head of the giant axe Lita. Boom! The speed is too fast, and the giant axe Lita has no time to dodge. The whole person's head was instantly blasted by She-Mastiff. White brains, red blood, and sticky brains splashed around. You blew his head off? How we get the bounty? At this time, Avery on the side couldn't help but have a black line on his face. A finger pistol pierced through a pirate's heart, and Ari couldn't help but speak when he saw She-Mastiff. I forgot all of a sudden. Hearing this, She-Mastiff's expression became embarrassed, a little embarrassed. The funding for this trip to the sea is entirely dependent on the bounty offered by the pirates. You should pay attention to your future shots. Shaking his head, Eli said speechlessly, and then killed again. All right, after hearing Eli's words, She-Mastiff could only force himself to remember this. After all, he was easy to take over in battle, and he didn't want to be blamed by EC. SHHH in a short time, the three of Ailey wiped out the entire pirate group. After careful inspection and found that there was no survivor, the three of Ellie packed up the treasure of the giant axe pirates and the head of the pirate with a bounty and returned to the Dawn on Moonwalk. At this time, EC was sitting on the edge of the boat on the Dawn, and Dylan on the side also returned to the deck. It seems to have some gains. EC nodded slightly when he saw how the three of Avery were carrying a lot of bags. Afterwards, Dylan used the ability of the cold fruit to freeze the head of the pirate, and then placed it in a special storage corner, waiting to take it to the Marine branch for a bounty. The three of Avery left the treasures to the maids to take care of and store, and then went to the bathroom to wash the bloodline on their bodies. Release the ability and let the navigators continue to lead the way. Glancing at the tattered pirate ship not far away, EC said to Dylan, "Yes, Your Highness." Hearing this, Dylan removed his ability. Seeing this, the navigator on the ship understood what Dylan meant and began to turn. At this moment, just as the dawn turned, EC's brows could not help but twitch. Within the coverage of his knowledge, a figure with a chill in his body entered his own coverage. "Your Highness, what's wrong?" Seeing the different expression on EC's face, Dylan asked subconsciously. "It's okay, but it seems that I have met your superior fruit ability person." Hearing this, EC smiled slightly and set his eyes on the left area of the pirate ship not far away. A superior fruit person? Dylan was stunned for a moment. Then, as if remembering something, his expression changed, and he said, "A frozen fruit person? That Marine Admiral candidate Kazan." Aside, EC didn't say much, but pouted towards the not far away. Dylan quickly turned his head to look and saw a tall man wearing a white suit vest and dark blue shirt with a green eye patch on his forehead, riding a bicycle towards Dawn. "Yo, what a gorgeous giant ship, two little brothers. Do you mind if I take a boat?" Don't look at Kazan riding his bicycle slowly, but at this time the Dawn has not completed the turn. Kazan has already arrived in front of the ship. At this time, Kazan glanced at the gradually dissipating ice surface and the pirate ship that was slowly sinking into the sea not far away, and turned to ask EC and Dylan, "It's okay to take a boat, but you have to pay some fare?" EC smiled lightly after hearing Kazan's words. "Boat fare." Hearing this, Kazan couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. "But I don't have much Bailey on me." EC twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "This is easy to handle. You can ride alone on the sea freely. You must be very powerful. As for the shipping fee, discussing with me once is the shipping fee. How about it?" Kazan glanced at EC in surprise, nodded and replied, "It's that simple, I agree." "Okay, let's get on the boat." Seeing Kazan agree, EC gently pressed the switch on the side. I saw a hidden wooden staircase slowly stretched out in front of Kazan. "Oh, this design is really nice." Seeing the stairs stretched out in front of him, Kazan couldn't help but nodded. Then, one hand lifted his bicycle and walked up the stairs to the Dawn. When Kazan got on the boat, the stairs were retracted and hidden again. P.S. During this period, Sengoku was still Admiral, and Kazan, Sakazuki, Pagliusolino were still Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. However, the strength of the three is strong, and they are also called Admiral candidates among Marines. Even among the Marines, all three are considered the next three Admiral. 21 Kazan's Curiosity. Simple discussion with Admiral Wow. With the sound of the ship, Dawn slowly turned the rudder towards the established route and started sailing again. What a gorgeous ship. Standing on the deck, Kazan looked around the whole ship and sighed again. "Sit down, you're welcome." Aside, EC jumped off the boat and sat on the deck chair and spoke. "Then I'm welcome." Hearing this, Kazan was also unceremonious, and after putting away his bicycle, he found the nearest reclining chair to do it. Ta-ta-ta, at this moment, the three of Avery had already cleaned their own bloodline and were walking towards the front deck. Kazan looked at the three of them and instantly felt the bloody aura of the three of Avery that had not yet dissipated. A ray of light flashed in the bottom of his eyes, and there was no need to think about it. Those pirates were cleaned up by these three people before. After that, Kazan glanced at EC and Dylan who were on the side without leaving a trace. Earlier, Kazan had noticed the chill in this place while riding his bicycle on the sea. So, out of curiosity, Kazan came here. After all, as a frozen fruit ability, I am still a little curious about the ability of the same ice type. However, when they came to the vicinity of this sea area, they saw a broken pirate group and those pirates who had turned into dead corpses. At the same time, after feeling that EC and others were leaving, Kazan showed his figure and finally decided to take a ride. "Your Highness." At this time, the three of Ellie gave EC a slight salute. In response, EC just nodded and didn't say much. On the side of Kazan, a strange color flashed on his face, which he did not expect. EC was going to be a prince, but after thinking about this magnificent ship, Kazan didn't care. I didn't expect my little brother to be a prince. Kazan turned his head slightly to look at EC, then looked at Dylan and the others. Just now, I felt your great strength from far away. I don't know. Are you willing to join our marine? Hearing this, EC raised his mouth slightly. What's wrong? Kazan Vice Admiral doesn't plan to hide. Well, Kazan smiled slightly. After all, as you must know who I am. Since that's the case, then I've been hiding it, just to let you see jokes. However, brother, do you want to seriously consider what I just said? Immediately, EC shook his head. Forget it. I just came out this time to see the vastness of the sea. And, as a prince, I have no interest in joining Marine. You Marines, life is tight, and there are so many regulations that you will die. Joining Marines is better. Hearing this, Kazan couldn't help but choked a little, which reminded him of the fact that he couldn't pay for the ship just now. Cough, it makes sense to say that, but I didn't think about it clearly. After that, Kazan didn't want to say anything more about this matter, but quickly changed the subject. By the way, brother, where are you going now? EC looked at Kazan and said, Huh? What? You want to walk with us all the way? Hearing this, Kazan nodded and replied, Well, I'm going back to Naval headquarters, but I've been riding my bike very slowly. So, I just want to ask my little brother where your destination is. If it's on the way, then I'll save trouble. Hearing Kazan's statement that he was riding a bicycle very slowly, EC couldn't help showing a hint of speechlessness. Cycling is slow, and that's for normal people. For people like Kazan, plus the black technology possessed by Marine and world government. EC couldn't believe that Kazan's bike was so unremarkable. Still, EC was very welcome to Kazan to hitch a ride. After all, for now, he and Marine have no grudges. And now Kazan, who has come to the door, is the best sparring partner to verify his strength. Although it is not possible to be a sparring coach every day. However, as the fare for the downwind boat, it should not be too much to practice with you several times. Moreover, since Kazan is so interested in himself and others, if he wants to find out the strength of himself and others, I believe that Kazan will not refuse too much. As for the exposure of his own strength, will any other bad things happen? EC is not very worried about this. After all, he has no grudge against Marine, and secondly, Kazan is a good person. To be honest, if it was Sakazuki, EC wouldn't let him on board. It's not that I have any prejudice against Sakazuki. As a Marine, Sakazuki is very qualified, albeit a little over the top. However, it would be no fun if I was afraid that I would think of myself and others as pirates without saying a word in Sakazuki. Shaking his head, EC quickly retracted his divergent thoughts. After pondering for a while, EC said, Our destination, Sabeti Archipelago, you should be on the way. That's true. Kazan nodded his head subconsciously after hearing EC's words. At this moment, EC said to Kazan again, Kazan Vice Admiral, you should have not forgotten the shipping fee you promised just now. Hearing this, Kazan couldn't help but froze for a moment. Now. Yes, after all, what if you disembark halfway? EC replied with a face of course. So, what I always believe in is to pay first and then trade. Now that you have come up, you have already violated my principle of paying first and then trading. So, it shouldn't be too much to charge your shipping fee now. Kazan looked at EC and couldn't help but be silent. It's really not too much. It's just, this is the first time I've seen the rule of paying first and then trading. I was thinking of taking a good nap in the sun. Since you agreed, then I'll start, with EC's voice falling. Suddenly, a sound of drawing a knife suddenly sounded. Clang! I don't know when, EC's right hand has pulled out the sea burial knife from the air ripples. Clang! With a clashing sound, EC's sea burial knife collided with the ice knife Kazan made in an instant. A little brother, you're a sneak attack like this, seeing the attack blocked by his ice blade. Kazan couldn't help but feel a little helpless. He never imagined that EC would do a sneak attack without talking about martial arts. If it wasn't for his quick reaction, I'm afraid that he would have been injured a little by now. Tisk, at this time, EC shook his head when he heard the words. Kazan Vice Admiral, with your strength, I can even spot you by sneak attack. After all, your strength is much stronger than mine. Next, I also asked Kazan Vice Admiral for more advice. As soon as he finished speaking, a black light flashed in EC's eyes. Whem! Kiang! Suddenly, a jet of black energy covered EC's arm, making it as dazzling as steel. OM! Afterwards, the dark energy turned into countless pure black air currents to completely cover the sea burial knife. It made the blade of the sea burial knife appear more and more profound under the entanglement of dark energy. Armament Haki, what a genius! Kazan looked at the sea burial knife that wrapped Armament Haki in the blink of an eye, and he couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Although he has not been in contact with EC for a long time, Kazan is very clear that EC is definitely no more than 10 years old. No matter how mature EC's behavior is, the development of his body can still be seen at a glance. Kacha with Armament Haki wrapped around, Kazan's unarmed skating blade instantly shattered into a skating blade. Swish! Immediately afterwards, EC made a vertical slash, and his violent force instantly burst the air around him. With a bang, Kazan didn't intend to make a hard connection, but jumped back with the help of the bursting impact figure. Seeing this, a black light flashed in EC's eyes, and the sea burial knife in his hand swung horizontally and instantly slashed out in the direction of Kazan. Swish! In an instant, an extremely dazzling black slash flew towards Kazan's position. The black slash is 10 meters long, and if the thunder rolls over the clouds, it roars out to the front. Ice Cube's pheasant mouth. Not far away, Kazan saw the dazzling slash coming towards him at high speed. The right arm suddenly gathered a strong cold air. When the coldness reached its peak, Kazan's right arm swung forward sharply. Hai saw that an iceberg that was completely condensed with ice took shape in an instant. With a cry, the iceberg rushed towards EC's slash without fear. Wherever the iceberg passed, the surrounding air instantly cooled down. Is this Marine's powerhouse? Really powerful? Yeah, TSK, can Dylan do this kind of random ice attack now? I can't. My fruit development is not enough. I thought we were strong, but now I see here, I understand that we're still so weak. Stop talking. Look, we're going to bump into each other. As Dylan and the four stopped talking, they saw that on the deck, a black slash and a white iceberg collided fiercely. Boom! The two collided, and there was no superfluous stalemate. The slash and the iceberg shattered in an instant, and the shock wave formed by the impact scattered violently towards the surroundings, while the violent airflow blew all around, causing everyone's clothes to squeak. Clang clang! At this moment, Kazan once again condensed into a skating blade, and the figure of EC charged towards each other instantly. Figures staggered, slashes and ice cubes danced, and the sound of continuous fighting came one after another. The two have a tacit understanding. It's just a discussion. Therefore, the attacks of the two people have converged a lot. Even most of the slashes and ice cubes flew directly out of the deck of the Dawn. 22 Kazan's admiration arrived at Sabeti Archipelago. Ding, ding, ding. The sound of fighting was incessant. Suddenly, EC's eyes flashed slightly, and then the ultimate speed brought by the vampire fruit exploded. Swoosh, another attack fell, but Kazan's eyes changed instantly. This speed, swish. The sea burial knife was drawn from behind Kazan, directly cutting Kazan in half. In this regard, EC did not show a happy expression, but after feeling the danger, the figure disappeared again in place. Ah, what a sharp intuition! With the ice cube that was cut in half, Kazan's body dissipated. I don't know when, Kazan's figure appeared where EC had just stood. Skilled two-color Haki, swordsman-level swordsmanship, and a sudden increase in speed. Looking at EC's figure, Kazan couldn't help but murmured a few times. So young and so powerful. TSK. Throughout the entire naval headquarters, no one can match his talent. Even Garp Vice Admiral and Sengoku Admiral should not have such strength at this age. Although Kazan admired EC's talent in his heart, His movements did not stop at all. Frozen time capsule. The moment Giant Wince noticed EC's appearance, a frozen shockwave rushed towards EC's location at high speed. Boom! A soft sound in the eyes of Dylan and others. I saw that EC's figure was instantly hit by this frozen shockwave. Then, in just an instant, EC was completely transformed into an ice sculpture. No, that's an afterimage. At this moment, Kazan frowned slightly. As a frozen fruit ability, he has a very close connection with the ability he unleashes. However, when EC was frozen, he did not feel the breath of life inside. Not good. Suddenly, Kazan's upper body suddenly bent down in front of him with extreme speed. I don't know when a long sword wrapped around armament Haki appeared behind Kazan and swept past Kazan. TSK, what a mighty observation, Haki. With a sigh, EC's figure appeared where the long knife was. Holding the sea burial knife tightly, EC slashed straight down at Kazan, who was bent over in front of him without any hesitation. Frozen. Ka 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 ka. Feeling the danger behind him, Kazan dashed forward to avoid EC's attack. Not only that, when rushing out of EC's attack range, an icicle suddenly appeared where Kazan was standing just now. The sharp pillar of ice is like an enlarged version of the frozen spear. It instantly rose from the deck and pierced towards EC's chin. Kacha. EC had no intention of evading, and the sea burial knife wrapped around armament Haki fell straight down. In an instant, this pillar of ice was split open, splitting it into two pieces and scattering them all over the deck. Crackling fragments of the pillar of ice were scattered all over the deck, and both EC and Kazan did not continue their fight. Really powerful Kazan Vice Admiral. EC looked at Kazan a few meters away, and the sea burial knife in his hand penetrated the golden ripples and put it back into the treasure of the king. At this moment, Kazan's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw this scene. When EC just took out the sea burial knife and attacked, Kazan had some guesses. But now, seeing that EC didn't hide anything, he just used his abilities in front of him. Kazan also confirmed his guess, the ability of the space class. "A little brother, don't be joking. I'm very tired now." Shrugging, Kazan dissipated the chill from his body, found a reclining chair, and sat down again. "Stop lying. You didn't take it seriously just now." Hearing this, EC pouted and said speechlessly, "Okay, the boat fee has been collected. You could do whatever you want." Ignoring what Kazan wanted to say, EC waved his hands and sat back on his reclining chair. At the same time, seeing the end of the battle, more than a dozen maids hurried over to clean the deck. Dylan, Avery, and others watched the battle between EC and Kazan, and then went to the side to practice hard. Looking at the orderly dawn, Kazan drank a sip of frozen fruit brought by the maid, and asked EC curiously, "By the way, I don't know what your name is, little brother. We should know each other. You know my name, but I don't know your name. It feels a bit strange hearing this." EC tilted his head and glanced at Kazan, who put down the cup. "Well, my name is Helios EC, from the Kingdom of Helios." EC didn't intend to hide his birth name. After all, no matter how hidden it will always be exposed. Moreover, the flag flying on the dawn is the flag of the Kingdom of Helios. So if you want to hide it, you can't hide it at all. Besides, with Kazan's authority in Marine, if you really want to check, you will easily find the Kingdom of Helios based on the flag. Oh, I didn't expect my little brother to be the legendary prince of Helios Kingdom. After hearing EC's brief self-introduction, Kazan was slightly surprised. It may not be clear where EC is in the kingdom, but Kazan, as a Marine, knows better than EC about the current state of Helios in the Grand Line. Not to mention the fact that Marine spies in the Kingdom of Helios were pulled out. Even the Kingdom of Helios itself, Kazan has known about it in the past few years. The original Kingdom of Helios was just an ordinary non-joined country. Although the Crown Island where the kingdom is located is huge, even bigger than Alabasta. However, the sea area where the Kingdom of Helios was located was indeed very remote. A few years ago, the Kingdom of Helios still implemented a policy of seclusion. But in recent years, the Kingdom of Helios has slowly opened up to the outside world. Even the inside of the kingdom can clear the spies of all the forces in a short period of time. Since then, Kuzan and other senior executives at Naval Headquarters have paid some attention. As the years go by, the changes in the Kingdom of Helios are astonishing at Naval Headquarters. In particular, the news that the Marine Intelligence Department went to the Kingdom of Helios to inquire about was an eye-opener for the senior management of Naval Headquarters. According to legend, His Royal Highness, who is like a prodigy, launched nationwide school education and cultivated a large number of strong people. All of this shows that the Kingdom of Helios is undergoing a huge transformation. Especially the Kingdom Legion that is active in the waters near the kingdom every year, and the senior officers of Naval Headquarters are watching carefully. Universal two-color Haki, powerful physique, superb swordsmanship, admirable military literacy. From the point of view of the senior Naval Headquarters, the Kingdom of Helios seems to be the second Awakeni. Even Vice Admiral, Marine's Great Staff Officer, has said that the Kingdom of Helios is becoming a second Awakeni. What they didn't know was that EC didn't just want to make the kingdom like Awakeni. Instead, he intends to turn the entire kingdom into a country of powerhouses, swordsmanship, taijutsu, haki, those of ability. EC needs all of them. The most important reason why people practice swordsmanship nowadays is because there is something like a basic swordsmanship training manual noble phantasm. With this, the people of the kingdom can get started with swordsmanship faster and gain self-protection power faster. After EC heard Kazan's surprised voice, his mind turned and he understood what Kazan was surprised about. With the memory of his past life and the various education he has learned since childhood in this life, EC can roughly understand some things with a little thought. However, EC didn't tell Kazan anything about the Kingdom of Helios. The current development of the Kingdom of Helios takes time, and the reason why EC went to sea was to distract other forces from the Kingdom of Helios. As long as he can make a name for himself in the sea, the Kingdom of Helios will receive less attention. Moreover, as long as their strength and reputation are strong, those pirates who go out to sea may be afraid of these things and dare not disturb the Kingdom of Helios. Now, the reason why EC agreed to take a ride with Kazan the first time he met Kazan, in addition to really wanting to learn from him, he is more about showing his potential and strength. EC believes that Kazan will tell Sengoku and others about his situation after returning to Naval Headquarters. At that time, EC's purpose was also achieved, with great potential, and even EC, which is already powerful now, Naval Headquarters will only win over. After all, EC was not a pirate in the first place, and he never did any sinful things. If Marine dares to attack EC for no reason, EC will use it to spread the word directly across the sea. The kingdom's intelligence department is not for nothing. Before going to sea, EC had already thought about a lot of things. For the next 20 days, the Dawn sailed unimpeded on the sea. During this period of time, Dylan and others have challenged Kazan, but they were quickly defeated by their lack of strength. Therefore, the four of them are working hard every day. If they meet the pirates, the four of them will rush up to fight. Before I knew it, there were more than 20 more heads in the dedicated bounty head storage room on the Dawn. Adding up the 0 and 0, the bounty on everyone's head has reached a total of 325 million Bailey. It's a pity that during this period of time, luck may have been particularly bad, and none of the pirates encountered redeeming fruit power. A conjecture that made EC want to test his own king's treasure couldn't be tried. On this day, not far from dawn, a very distinctive island group appeared. One of the world's largest mangroves stands in the center, with countless roots sticking out of the water. Not only that, but 79 smaller mangrove trees form islands, each with towns and facilities. From a distance, there's still a large number of bubbles flying towards the sky over the entire area. Here is the end of the first half of the Grand Line, Sabaody Archipelago. 23. The pirates who do not know whether to live or die. Report. It is about to arrive at Sabaody Archipelago. Please instruct your highness. On the foredeck, EC, who was sunbathing, heard the questioning voice from beside him and opened his eyes lazily. Slowly stretched, EC slowly sat up. Speaking of which, This period of time is really degenerate, and I enjoy it every day. However, his strength has reached the bottleneck now, so EC has started to enjoy the rest of the time besides his daily practice. At the very beginning, EC's desire for strength reached its peak because of his lack of strength. Therefore, during that time, EC practiced desperately. Now, everything is stuck in a bottleneck, and EC has already understood his own path. Therefore, EC is now beginning to truly live a life of enjoyment as a prince. Instructed to go down, dock the ship at Area 58 of the Sabidi archipelago, and have someone coat the ship there. After giving a command to the person beside him, EC slowly stood up. At the same time, after hearing EC's instructions, the man hurriedly saluted and ran back. Shaking his head, EC turned to look at Kuzan beside him. Kuzan, Vice Admiral, I will trouble you to collect the bounty later. Hearing this, Kuzan unhurriedly took off his blindfold. Don't worry, EC nodded, although he didn't really care about the bounty. However, this is his first pot of gold as a bounty hunter, so it still makes some sense anyway. Moreover, it can also let Marine know that he is not a pirate. At present, the strength is insufficient, and for the time being, it cannot conflict with these top forces at sea. A manly man, able to bend and stretch, keep a low profile when it's time to keep a low profile. When both his own strength and the kingdom's military power have improved, it is time to do things in a high-profile manner. Without thinking, EC glanced at Kuzan, who had put on the blindfold again, and shook his head gently. Afterwards, EC turned to Dylan, Eli, and the others and began to give instructions. Wait a minute, Dylan and I'll walk around the Sabidi archipelago. Ellie, take some people with those pirate heads and follow Kazan Vice Admiral to collect the bounty. She Mastiff, you are taking some people to buy supplies and replenish the material reserves on board. As for Orton, this time you stay on the Dawn with some sailors. If someone makes trouble, kill them all. If you find that you're not an opponent, notify me immediately. Hearing this, Dylan and Ally responded in unison. As per your order, Your Highness. As the dawn got closer and closer to the Sabidi archipelago, gradually, some people on the archipelago near Area 58 also discovered this super large ship. Look, what is that? There's such a big ship. Hey, oh my God, with such a huge ship, is there any honorable person coming to the Sabidi archipelago? So big, so long, so mighty. I really want it. Little ones, here comes the rich man, the thief, ha ha ha. Prepare to rob. Oh, long live the captain. Ah ha ha ha. After this vote, we will get rich all at once. TSK, are these pirates out of their minds? Hey, keep your voice down. Don't be heard by those pirates. Che, what can you do if you hear it? Anyway, with their stupidity, they will all have to die here in a while. Don't even think about it. Such a magnificent ship can sail to Sabidi archipelago safely. Do you really think that no one has an idea for this ship along the way? Okay, don't say so much. It's none of our business anyway. Well, I see, I'm just whining. Find a seat and prepare to watch the play. Walk around, go there, and watch the tree house as it works. Wow ka 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 ka. Or brother, you have sentiment. Brother, this is experience. On the other hand, dawn got closer and closer to the Sabidi archipelago as it sailed. Soon, he stopped at a spacious port at will. At this time, EC and others in Kazan were already standing on the front deck. As the stair mechanism fell, a series of stairs stretched from the ship to the port. Kill, little ones. Come on. I didn't expect it to be a few little dolls. Ha ha ha. We're going to. We can't let the people of the Yalong pirates enjoy it alone. Oh, the boss is mighty rush. Sisters, our prostitute pirates can't be left behind. Let's go too. Yeah. The big sister's head is mighty. Go. I want that little white face. I want to suck him to death. Gee ha ha ha. Sisters, let's go together. With so little meat, let's suck him to death together. Yes, suck him dry. Come on. As the Dawn had just docked, before EC and the others got off the ship, they saw a large number of pirates rushing over. A little brother, it seems that this ship is really too eye-catching. Looking at the crowded heads, Kazan couldn't help but tease. TSK. Hearing this, EC also knew how attractive his Dawn was to the pirates. Immediately, EC looked at the steady stream of pirates, and a killing intent flashed in his eyes. With a single draw, the sea burial knife appeared in EC's hand. EC, who didn't want to waste time, decided to do it himself. The figure jumped slightly, then jumped off the Dawn and stood in an open space in the port. Looking at the pirates who were full of foul language, EC's sea burial knife gently made a gesture of not pulling the knife around his waist. A bunch of scumbags. With a whisper, EC stepped forward with his right foot. Clang! With a crisp sound of the knife being drawn out of the scabbard. Break the void, draw the knife, and cut. Then, with EC's murmur, a magnificent half-moon arc slash suddenly appeared in front of EC. Swish! The half-moon arc slash was a small slash when it first appeared in front of EC. However, as the half-moon arc slash flew towards the location of Sabeti Archipelago, shocking change has occurred. I saw that it was originally just a semicircular slash in a small range, and the speed became bigger and bigger after getting away from EC. At the end, an unparalleled, dazzling, super-large half-moon arc-shaped horizontal plane slash was quietly generated. Under the terrified eyes of countless pirates, the slash flew over the bodies of these pirates without the slightest accident. What? My waist? No. Help, help, I don't want to die. In an instant, with the inertia driven by those pirates running, both the people on the Dawn and the people on the Sabeti Archipelago could not help but take a deep breath. I saw that a large group of pirates were divided into two, and the lower and upper bodies of all pirates were completely separated from each other. Above the ground, countless pirates were struggling desperately with their upper body and wailing. The strong, bloody smell completely covered the area where the pier is located in the port. This bloody and shocking scene shocked everyone nearby. Whether it's Marine who came here, people watching the fun, or pirates watching a show at this time, they all showed a shocked and horrified expression. Even the older brother and younger brother who were fighting against each other at the treehouse could not help but soften at this time. I didn't expect that little brother would have such a great murderousness. On the Dawn, Kazan looked at EC, who took the sea burial knife back to the king's treasure, and his eyes couldn't help showing a dignified look. Not because of EC's strength, but because of EC's murderousness. Who, taking a breath, Kazan said to the four Dylans on the side, "You guys, won't you deal with it?" Hearing this, Dylan and the others came to their senses and jumped off the Dawn. Your Highness, when he came to EC's side, Dylan couldn't help but whisper, EC nodded flatly, as if the scene of howling everywhere in front of him didn't exist. Ellie, according to the bounty order, these pirates who have a bounty cut off their heads and take them to collect the bounty. As for the others, follow my previous orders and proceed as usual. Seeing this, Dylan, Eli, and the others quickly responded, "Yes, Your Highness." Subsequently, under the command of Avery, all the sailors of the Dawn disembarked and began to clean up the scene. But until this time, the stunned people around them slowly recovered. This kind of thing, get out of here. I can't stand it. Hurry up. This picture, I shouldn't be able to eat for a few days. Sabeti Archipelago. A demon has come. After returning to their senses, these people did not dare to stop and discuss at all, and turned around and left here. At the same time, as Kazan stepped off the ship, the Marine soldiers also found Kazan's figure. Tata Tau, led by a rear admiral, all the Marines came to Kazan. "See Kazan, Vice Admiral." Kazan nodded and didn't say much. Roymius, Rear Admiral, "Help clean it up. It's so ugly." Hearing this, Rear Admiral hurriedly ordered Marine soldiers to join the cleanup. "A little brother, you're making a lot of noise like this." Kazan walked over to EC and spoke softly. "TSK, a group of scum. If you kill it, you'll kill it. No matter how loud the movement is, I haven't destroyed anything else." EC shook his head, turned, and walked towards Dawn. "It's all evil pirates who were killed, and they didn't hurt the innocent. Don't worry." Kazan, Vice Admiral. Seeing EC returning to Dawn, Kazan shook his head and muttered to himself, "Is that what I mean? I mean the bloody question of this scene. After all, it's not good, and I was on your boat before. Who knows how those journalists who don't take matters too seriously will report? Forget it. It has already happened anyway. Glancing at the Marine soldiers and Eli and the others who were cleaning the scene, Kazan didn't plan to say anything more. 24 auction on Sabeti Archipelago an hour later. The bloody scene was completely cleaned up. Even the careful Marine soldiers washed the ground several times with water. At this time, Avery and some people had followed Kazan to Marine Station to collect the bounty. And She Mastiff also took some people to other islands to buy supplies. As for EC, he showed up in a coating factory with Dylan and Orton. Walking into the coating factory, the coating craftsman here saw EC at the moment. Except for a white-haired old man who was drinking, the others quickly stepped back in panic. Seeing this, EC spotted this very independent old man at a glance. He has long curly hair, a beard on his chin, silver beard and hair, glasses, and a straight scar on his right eye. One piece his right wrist, Pluton. Rayleigh. At this time, Silver Rayleigh was sitting on a chair beside him, drinking his small wine slowly. Glancing at him, EC didn't pay attention to Rayleigh again. After all, the current Rayleigh wasn't carrying a saber. Also, EC isn't going to talk to Rayleigh here either. One of EC's goals in coming to Sabeti Archipelago was to get Rayleigh's saber. Whether it is Rayleigh's original saber or the ordinary saber in the original book, EC doesn't mind as long as it is the saber that he carries with him. After all, what EC wants is the swordsmanship contained in the treasured saber. Dad, sir, hello. I'm the boss of this coating factory. Do you need coating here? At this moment, in the room next to him, a chubby old man stumbled to the front of the three of EC. My Dawn needs to be coated because the ship is bigger, so it needs multiple coating craftsmen. I see that your coating factory has a good reputation, so I want to ask you to help me coat my boat. Hearing this, the owner of the coating factory patted his chest and thumped. No problem at all, my lord. Rest assured that your boat will be coated with the most durable membrane. EC nodded when he saw this, stretched out his hand, and took out a box of Baileys from the golden ripples on the side and put it on the ground. This is the deposit. After the coating is completed, I will pay the remaining balance. Seeing the owner of the coating factory trying to speak, EC interrupted with a wave of his hand. You don't need to say words like don't want money. One code is one code. I'm not a pirate. In business, it's all about integrity, whether it's a buyer or a seller. Paying money with one hand and delivering with the other is an eternal truth. So, you honestly coat my boat, and I will pay Bailey in full. You get it. Hearing this, the owner of the coating factory nodded quickly. I understand. Thank you, sir. Reaching out his hand to wipe the sweat on his forehead, the owner of the coating factory said nervously. Seeing this, EC shook his head and pointed at Orton beside him. Next, you can hand over to him. After saying that, EC turned around and left the coating factory. Behind him, Dylan also quietly followed behind EC. After leaving the coating plant, EC and Dylan wandered leisurely around Sabeti Archipelago. Although the matter of Area 58 spread throughout the Sabeti Archipelago, but EC's appearance has not been spread. Of course, if it comes tomorrow, it will definitely be spread. After all, the World Economic News Agency will not let this news go. At least, as of today, EC's hanging out in the Sabeti Archipelago hasn't caused panic or anything like that. Sabeti Archipelago, except for the main trunk of the mangrove tree. A total of 79 areas are divided into areas formed by other mangroves. 1 to 29, there are mainly human trafficking shops, human auctions, illegal areas, etc. No, 30 to 39, there are mainly soap bubble parks, etc. Number 40 to 49, there are mainly sightseeing areas, specialty shops, etc. Number 50 to 59, mainly shipyards, coating craftsmen, etc. Number 60 to 69, there are mainly marine stations, government entrances and exits, etc. Number 70 to 79, there are mainly hotel streets, and so on. The entire Sabeti Archipelago nurtures a unique bubble culture. Bubble cars, bubble Ferris wheel, houses built on bubbles. Bubble culture permeates every part of Sabeti Island. Walking on the street, I do not know when EC held an invitation letter for the auction in his hand. TSK, an auction. Looking at the auction invitation letter in his hand, EC couldn't help but smile. Let's go. Let's go to the #1 area and have a look. Speaking of which, I haven't participated in any auctions yet. I don't know if there will be any surprises at this auction. Seeing the address on the invitation, EC walked towards Area 1 with Dylan, all the way from Area 58 to Area 1. Along the way, EC and Dylan have simply experienced the unique bubble culture of Sabadi Archipelago. After finding the address on the invitation letter, EC and Dylan walked into the auction venue after the two guards simply verified the authenticity of the invitation letter. This auction house in the first area can be regarded as a building that occupies a huge area. After walking in, EC discovered that this auction house is really luxurious. Even the seats on the first floor are very rich with gold patterns inlaid in every position. I casually looked up and looked upstairs and saw that from the second floor, there are independent boxes one by one. The higher the floor, the larger the area of the box. At the very front of the lobby on the first floor, there is a row of unique positions, stacked with diamonds, studded with ornate gold and silver jewels. The range of locations does not have a single other seat. Without further ado, EC knew that the position was reserved for those world nobles, celestial dragons. Speaking of which, in the pirate world, the power of the world noble celestial dragons is very scary. Celestial dragons, the world nobles, the privileged class that dominates the world government, resides in the Holy Land Mariewa, and the leader of the Bright Face is the Five Elders. But in fact, him on the Void Throne is the real leader. And because the Celestial Dragons are descendants of 19 of the 20 kings who formed the world government 800 years ago. Therefore, the Celestial Dragons have always regarded themselves as descendants of the Creator and enjoyed all privileges. Once offended, Marine Admiral or CP0 must be dispatched to protect. In previous lives, countless sea fans hated Celestial Dragons. However, EC knew that the vast majority of people wanted to be Celestial Dragons. After all, after becoming Celestial Dragons, you can get supreme power, endless wealth, countless beauties. At this point, I believe most people cannot be exempted from the custom. Everyone hates Celestial Dragons, but everyone wants to be Celestial Dragons. This sentence sums up the thoughts of most people in the past life very well. To be honest, even EC fantasized about being a Celestial Dragons in a previous life. However, when he came to this world, EC did not become Celestial Dragons, but the Prince of a Kingdom. Shaking his head, EC retracted the divergent thoughts in his mind. With Dylan, he found a remote place to sit down at will, and began to wait for the start of this auction. If before, EC was looking forward to an auction, there is not much expectation now. After all, this auction will not be attended by Celestial Dragons, so the specifications will not be very high. In this regard, EC also intends to pass the time and give himself a long experience. As time passed, more and more people came to the auction. Pirates, marines, merchants, bounty hunters, people of darkness. Gradually, there were more and more people, and it was getting closer and closer to the opening of the auction. Pat at this moment, with a crisp sound, everyone in the auction hall focused their attention on the auction table. I saw that on the auction table at this time, an auctioneer was already standing there with an auction hammer. Welcome everyone to come to this auction. I'm the auctioneer who presided over the auction this time. Hook B. The rules of the auction, I believe you have also checked it from the invitation letter. Here, I don't need to repeat it. Now let's start our auction. I have the first auction item, Heba's own Voyage diary provided by the captain of the Heba pirates with a bounty of 150 million. The starting price of this auction is 100,000 Baileys, and each increase shall not be lower than 50,000 Baileys. Now the auction starts. Slap as the auction hammer fell. It meant that the auction officially started. At the same time, the entire auction hall suddenly became lively. One after another, the sound of bidding is endless. 150,000 Baileys. Poor bastard. Lousy gives 500,000 Baileys. Quack quack. With this Voyage diary, Lousy will be able to enter the new world. This uncle gave 1,000,000 Bailey. Nima, are you courting death? How dare you make a bid with Lousy? Come on, The bounty is only 30 million rubbish. You wait for lousy. Poor bastard trash. Let me show you what a rich man is. My uncle will increase the price. 1.5 million Bailey. Slap with the sound of the final offer fell. On the auction table, the auctioneer's hammer beeped lightly. Now, is there anyone who wants a bid more? After looking around the auction hall, the auctioneer Gobe started the process after seeing that there was no answer. Now, 1.5 million Baileys for the first time. 1.5 million Baileys the second time. 1.5 million Baileys the third time. Very good. The auction is over. Congratulations to the leader of the Seal Pirates for winning the auction. Next, as the auction items were sold one by one, the atmosphere in the auction hall gradually became warmer. Voyage diaries, identified treasure maps, collectible works of art, natural diamonds, and emeralds. Each item was auctioned off, but EC and Dylan never made a single bid. In fact, these things can't be seen at all, so EC just watched it silently and didn't ask for a price. Speaking of which, this auction is just a low-level auction, so famous knives, devil fruit, and the like are very rare. As for the slave auction, according to the description on the invitation letter, it was another auction situation, the slave auction. Of course, if celestial dragons were in attendance, the auction house would host a hybrid high-spec auction. At that time, high-quality slaves, famous knives, devil fruits, etc. will appear one by one. As the auction gradually completed one transaction after another, after 3 hours, the auction ended. EC and Dylan stayed here for 3 hours, but nothing was auctioned. In this regard, EC couldn't help but be a little speechless. He didn't think that he didn't have the aura like those of the transmigrators, one of the auras of the traveler's predecessors. Anyone who participates in the auction will surely get what they want. Shaking his head helplessly, EC could only take Dylan out of the auction. 25 Shakis ripping off bar. Goodbye Rayleigh. After walking out of the auction hall and identifying the direction, EC took Dylan towards Area 13. However, when passing a small alley, EC and the two were surrounded by people. TSK, TSK, TSK. The two thin-skinned and tender-fleshed boys have been following you since the auction. As the crowd dispersed to an aisle, a man in black smoking a cigar walked arrogantly to EC and the others. Oh, that's right. You can definitely sell for a good price. Bold, how dare to disrespect His Highness. At this time, Dylan, who had always had a low sense of existence, was suddenly furious when he heard the words. The air was cold, and his eyes were fixed on the man in black in front of him. Dylan's figure flashed instantly after seeing EC nodding lightly. A hand was placed on the head of the man in black, and it slammed into the ground. Boom! With a loud noise, I saw that the head of the man in black smashed a big, deep hole on the ground. Seeing this, Dylan didn't stop but stomped his left foot gently. Ka, with the sound of freezing. The man in black turned into a lump of ice sculptures in the blink of an eye. Kacha with the force of his feet, the ice sculpture shattered into countless pieces. As the ice sculpture turned into countless fragments, Dylan's body shook. Countless fragments blasted away in all directions. SHH fragments of ice sculptures flew by, and the sound of breaking through the air was continuous. Puff, 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 what? Cough, cough. Do not. A series of actions are completed in a short period of time. Before those minions could react, countless pieces of ice sculptures broke the throats of these people. Covering their broken throat, the minions fell to the ground unwillingly. Looking at the fallen and struggling minions, EC's expression didn't change in the slightest. Let's go. Lifting his feet, EC continued to walk towards Area 13. Behind him, Dylan once again condensed some ice fragments to make up for the knife. After confirming that he was not alive, he quickly followed EC's figure. After EC and Dylan had completely left, some people from outside the alley slowly came in to check the situation. As for how shocked these people will be, EC and Dylan don't care about those things anymore. Following the ubiquitous guide signs of the Sabeti archipelago, EC and Dylan soon showed up near a ripped-off bar called Shaki. For EC, who is familiar with the content of the original book, it is very clear who is in the bar, Shaki's ripping-off bar. Shaki, an intelligence officer of the original Rox pirate. After the death of Rox, the pirates split. Shaki also opened a bar here, responsible for buying and selling intelligence. Another man, Pluton Rayleigh, came here to live in seclusion after the dissolution of the Roger Pirates. This time, EC came to Sabati Archipelago for another purpose to get Rayleigh's saber. EC thought of this place after discovering that Rayleigh was not wearing his own saber at the coding factory. To be honest, if it wasn't for EC's lack of strength, EC wouldn't mind directly grabbing Rayleigh's saber. After all, they're all evil pirates, and EC has no mercy. Even if you retire, what can you do? No matter what the argument is, a pirate is a pirate. Unfortunately, due to lack of strength, EC can only use another method to obtain Rayleigh's saber. Boom! As soon as they reached the door of the bar, EC and the two saw two figures being kicked out. You two actually want to eat Overlord's meal. With a soft drink, a figure walked out quickly. He has short black hair and is wearing a spider-patterned shirt. He looks so young that he can't tell that he is almost 50 years old. With a cigarette in his mouth, Shaki kicked the two screaming figures away again. Turning around, Shaki's eyes flickered slightly after seeing EC. "Yo, two little brothers, are you here for dinner?" EC smiled lightly and said, "Well, I happen to be hungry. Seeing that the signboard here has a pattern of food, I must have food here." Hearing this, a smile appeared on Shaki's face. Of course, it is absolutely delicious and affordable. Come, two little brothers come and order. Listening to Shaki's words, Dylan on the side couldn't help showing a strange look. Looking at the sign above the store and thinking about Shaki's words just now, Dylan always felt that something was wrong. After Shaki walked into the store, EC walked in without any reason. Seeing this, Dylan could only follow EC and walked into the store together. "Come here, two little brothers, please take a seat. There's a menu here. What do you want to eat?" Greeting EC and Dylan to sit down at an empty table, Shaki eagerly picked up the menu on the side and handed them to EC. Seeing this, EC and Dylan also lowered their heads and looked over. For a moment, before EC could say anything, Dylan couldn't help screaming. "Why is it so expensive? 5 million Baileys for a plate of fried rice. Did you make a mistake? A grilled fish costs 10 million Baileys. Are these prices serious?" On the side, EC waved to Dylan, motioning for Dylan to calm down. Seeing this, Dylan could only calm down, but still stared at Shaki with a bad look and wanted Shaki to give an explanation. "Oh, this little brother, my price here is definitely not wrong." Shaki shook his head, took a puff, and responded to Dylan. "Okay, give us 2 fried rice, 1 grilled fish, and 1 shark fin soup." Without waiting for Dylan to speak, EC ordered a few random meals. Seeing this, Dylan was stunned for a moment, but didn't say anything more. After all, in Dylan's mind, everything is dominated by EC. As long as EC decides, Dylan will not refute it. "Okay, two little brothers, wait a moment. The food will be served soon." Hearing this, Shaki hurriedly wrote down the meal EC ordered, then returned to the bar and handed it to the kitchen. Don't look at the original book. It seems that every time Shaki goes to the kitchen to cook, but that's just the treatment of Luffy and others. How could Shaki alone maintain such a big place? In the back of this store, needless to say, there must be buildings related to accommodation, kitchen, and information. However, EC didn't care about this. Putting down the menu in his hand, EC leaned back in his chair and turned his head to look out the window. Ding, 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 ding. I don't know when. It started to rain outside. The rain hit the window, making a crisp sound of ding, ding, ding. It's raining. The sun is shining brightly 1 second, and the clouds are raining the next. Sure enough, no matter how many times I see it, I feel very novel. After whispering a few words, EC waved it casually. I saw a sudden burst of golden ripples on the desktop in front of the two of them. Then, an unopened fruit wine and 2 crystal cups appeared on the table. P.S. It was collected in the kingdom treasure before leaving the kingdom, and after the noble phantasm in the king's treasure was transformed, there was a wonderful wine with magical effects. Seeing this, Dylan quickly reached out and gently opened the cork of the wine bottle. In an instant, the rich fruit fragrance mixed with the mellow wine fragrance permeates the entire store. On the bar, Haki smelled the smell of alcohol and felt that the cigarette between his fingers suddenly didn't want to. Looking at the place where EC and the two were, watching Dylan slowly pour the fruit wine into the two crystal glasses. EC picked up the crystal cup, and after liberating this noble phantasm, the more mellow taste gradually spread. Taking a sip, EC leaned back in the chair and watched the light rain outside the window. Ha ha ha. I smell the wine, Haki. Did you buy some wine? At this time, along with the door that was pushed open, an old and energetic voice sounded. Haki looked at the sound and saw Rayleigh walked in with excitement on his face. I didn't buy fine wine, and I don't know what kind of wine this is. This is not my wine. It was brought by that little brother. Oh, hearing that, Rayleigh looked in Shaki's direction, and suddenly a light flashed in his eyes. Ah, little brother, it's really fate to meet again. I wonder if I can taste my little brother's wine. While speaking, Rayleigh walked to the table where EC was and asked with some eagerness. Staring at the wine bottle on the table, at close range, Rayleigh only felt that his addiction to alcohol had been committed. EC glanced at Rayleigh with a half-smile, then waved his hand again randomly, and the two crystal cups appeared on the table again. Dylan, fill it up. Hearing this, Dylan responded quickly. Yes, Your Highness. As he said, Dylan's hands were not slow. He picked up the wine bottle on the side and was filled with two crystal cups, and Dylan also thoughtfully released the two crystal cup treasures. Immediately, the mellow taste of wine aroused the greed in Rayleigh's stomach. For the sake of fate, let me give you a taste. Looking at Rayleigh, EC also turned his head and said to Haki, Boss, try it too. Hearing EC's words, Haki didn't show the slightest politeness. Then I'm welcome, little brother. Leaving the bar and coming to Rayleigh's side, the two of them each held the crystal cups in front of them. Careful observation of the crystal glass that is like clear water-like wine. Well, it's really unstoppable. Rayleigh put the crystal glass in front of him and sniffed lightly. Then, after taking a sip, Rayleigh couldn't stop the smell of wine blooming from his taste buds. Aside, after Haki took a sip, she behaved like Rayleigh. Hey, good wine. Although it's just fruit wine, after drinking it, I can actually feel that my body seems to be more active. I didn't expect this kind of wine to have such effects. Before he knew it, a glass of wine Rayleigh drank quietly. Smashing his mouth, Rayleigh was still very reluctant. He felt that he had only drank a few sips. How could it be gone? 26, get the Rayleigh saber, get the Pluton swordsmanship licking his lips. Rayleigh couldn't help but once again put his eyes on the quietly placed wine bottle on the table. Little brother, I don't know if you sell this wine. After drinking it, Rayleigh could clearly feel that the slight dark wounds in his body had some signs of self-healing. Coupled with this unparalleled taste, Rayleigh can't wait to pick up the bottle and drink it. Hearing this, EC smiled slightly and looked at Rayleigh's current appearance without leaving a trace. After a short pause on the dagger on Rayleigh's waist, EC spoke. My wine is not for sale. It's something I brewed myself with a lot of time. After you drink it, you should be able to feel the effect of this wine. Glancing at Rayleigh, EC continued. If you want to trade. Having said this, EC pretended to look at Rayleigh. You should be a swordsman. After all, I can feel that deep, hidden, sharp breath from you. Of course, this sentence was made up by EC, and his strength can't feel the breath of Rayleigh now. Unless EC breaks through to the level of a great swordsman, or observation Haki goes a step further, the feeling of Rayleigh's breath or something is all made up. I'm also a swordsman, but my hobbies are different. I'm not very interested in competing with other swordsmen, but I am very interested in collecting other swordsmen's swords. If you use the dagger at your waist as a bargaining chip, I can trade you 2 bottles of fruit wine. How do you feel? Having said this, EC's eyes turned to Rayleigh. Hearing EC's words, Rayleigh couldn't help being a little surprised. As for EC's ability to feel his deeply hidden aura, Rayleigh pretended not to hear it. Rayleigh is very confident that if EC's strength is only as strong as that of the port, he will never feel his hidden aura. However, Rayleigh is also a little curious about EC's offer to trade with his saber. Little brother, I'm just an ordinary sword. I haven't even reached the level of a quick knife. It's just an ordinary steel knife. You're also interested in this thing? Hearing this, EC smiled slightly and said, I'm just interested in collecting other swordsmen's swords. Seeing this, Rayleigh held up his round glasses. Brother, no matter what, this knife has been with me for a few years. It's pretty easy to use. It's not impossible to trade for you, but 2 bottles of wine are too few. Seeing this, EC shrugged and didn't speak again, but drank the fruit wine in his crystal glass to himself. Immediately, Rayleigh couldn't help but froze for a moment. Hey, brother, is this? Well, as you can see, after drinking the fruit wine, EC nodded. I won't trade more than 2 bottles. You don't think it's easy for me to make these wines? This kind of fruit wine with special effects consumes a lot of energy, time, and materials. I don't have many bottles myself, and 2 bottles have made me feel bad for a long time. Also, if your saber is a famous knife or something, I can add an extra bottle or 2. But you said it yourself, it's just a steel sword. 2 bottles of wine, no more. Hearing this, Rayleigh pondered slightly. Then he undid the saber from his waist and placed it on the table. 2 bottles are 2 bottles, but can this half bottle be given to this old man as well? After hearing Rayleigh's words, EC couldn't help but be taken aback. However, EC reacted quickly. With a flick of his hand, Rayleigh's saber received the treasure of the king. At the same time, there were 2 more bottles of unopened fruit wine on the table. Seeing this, a look of joy appeared on Rayleigh's face. Thank you, bro. After speaking, Rayleigh cheekily took away the 2 bottles of unopened fruit wine and the half-opened bottle of fruit wine. Even the crystal cup he had just finished drinking with Haki went along. EC couldn't help shaking his head when he saw Rayleigh's appearance and didn't say anything more. With Rayleigh's knowledge, he must also know the special function of the crystal cup. Unfortunately, what he didn't know was that if he didn't release the noble phantasm's ability, it wouldn't work. However, EC still secretly and remotely released the 2 crystal cups permanently. After all, the saber was already in his hands, and EC didn't want to be reborn because of a few gadgets. As Rayleigh and Haki left, EC's previous order was also delivered. After the 2 finished eating, EC left Bailey, who had checked out, on the table and left with Dylan. After the 2 left, Rayleigh and Haki, who were in the usual fruit wine, were talking. He must have discovered your identity, Rayleigh. Who knows? Well, I'm retired, and even Marine isn't coming for me. It's no use finding out who I am. Speaking of which, why did this little brother trade your saber? I don't know. How can this kind of thing be guessed? I don't have the observation Haki that Redfield has that can read minds. However, it's just a saber to the left and right. Although I don't know what he wants, it shouldn't matter. After all, like that kind of fine steel sword, you can basically buy weapons in the entire sea. That's right, forget it. We shouldn't have any interaction with him in the future anyway. I'm too lazy to think about this kind of thing. That's right, Haki. Come and have another drink. It really can't stop, and I don't know what to do after I finish drinking it. TSK, you old man. Didn't you discover the magic of these 2 crystal cups? A crystal glass that adds texture and flavor. It's amazing. Kingdom of Helios. Haki, do you have any information? Not yet, after all. It was not famous before, but I'll give people a little attention in the future. Well, don't provoke this little brother. He has such strength at the age of 8 or 9. His talent is unmatched on this sea. I don't know if Roger is waiting for him. Roger? Well, unfortunately, Roger didn't tell us much. Is that so? The rain outside had stopped at some point. The bright sun shines on the Sabaody archipelago again. On this side, when EC and Dylan returned to the Dawn. At this time, the supplies on the ship were still being replenished under the leadership of She-Mastiff. After all, with so many people on board, the food and all kinds of sundries consumed every day are countless. Although EC's King's Treasure also has various supplies, these are all for emergencies. No one knows if sailing on this sea will encounter emergencies. Therefore, all the supplies on board are replenished by themselves. The materials in the King's Treasure have never been used. Go back to the huge room on the 5th floor. EC sat cross-legged on the bed, let out a light breath, and pumped the air around him slightly. Immediately afterwards, a golden sword appeared in EC's hand. This Tachi is the saber that EC traded from Rayleigh. On the way back, EC fused it with the Noble Phantasm embryo into a brand new Noble Phantasm. It's just that I didn't have time to check it out on the way. Now, EC has time to check out this new tied-out treasure in his hand. Noble Phantasm, Pluton type. Active Noble Phantasm, type Inherent Noble Phantasm, Liberation. The holder will obtain the Pluton Swordsmanship, and the holder can actively learn the Pluton Swordsmanship during the holding period. This brand new Noble Phantasm, because Rayleigh did not name it, the Treasure of the King automatically named it after Rayleigh's nickname. Overall, the difference between the Noble Phantasm Pluton Sword and the Noble Phantasm Sea Burial Sword is not much, except for the different names and the swordsmanship contained in them. The rest are basically the same. This sword was used by Rayleigh for several years before turning into a Noble Phantasm. It can be said that Rayleigh's swordsmanship was all contained in the sword at the moment it was transformed into a Noble Phantasm. Today, EC's Kendo has been stuck at the top swordsman level. Among them, it is not because of the inability to break through, but because EC wants to combine the strengths of hundreds of schools and walk out of his own way of Kendo. Now, the first swordsman saber after going to sea has been obtained, and next, there will be a steady stream of harvesting various swordsman saber. EC, on the other hand, took the essence of these swordsmen's swords, discarded the dross, combined the strengths of 100 schools, and embarked on his own path on this basis. After briefly observing the properties of the Noble Phantasm, EC couldn't wait to release the Pluton knife. After that, a lot of Pluton swordsmanship insights that Rayleigh possessed kept pouring into EC's mind. The unique perception of sea burial swordsmanship in his mind was gradually intertwined and verified with Pluton's swordsmanship perception. The sky was getting dark, and finally, all the supplies needed by dawn had been replenished. Now, as long as the coding craftsmen have finished coding the dawn, they can dive directly into the deep sea to the new world. On the dawn, everything was in order. All the people outside also returned to the dawn. EC, on the other hand, is immersed in cultivation. In the mind, the constantly colliding perception of sea burial swordsmanship and the perception of Pluton swordsmanship. It made EC completely addicted and had no idea of stopping. Even at dinner time, EC didn't finish his practice. Gradually, the sky became darker and darker, and it gradually entered the night time. Tonight, the full moon shines brightly and the stars are shining. The whole place of dawn gradually became quiet. After a hard day's work, it's time to rest. Before you know it, the time of the night passed quietly. 27 conversation and inquiry at Naval headquarters when the sun shone down on the room. EC's eyes that had been closed all night trembled slightly and slowly opened. There seemed to be a sharp sword light flashing in the air. As the sun shines on EC's body, the sharp breath of EC's body is slowly hidden inside the body. After thinking of the harvest of the night, EC couldn't help but slightly tick the corner of his mouth. My swordsmanship has gone a step further. It's time to eat something. Cultivation is not something that happens overnight. Touching his stomach, EC got up and went to the bathroom to take a shower, then head to the restaurant on the dawn ship to get something to eat. EC didn't eat anything all night, and EC felt his stomach growling. "I have seen your highness." "Good morning, your highness." Along the way, the maids and sailors they met greeted EC after seeing EC. Not long after, EC walked into the restaurant and entered the dining box that had been prepared. Then, the maids in charge of working in the restaurant served breakfast one after another. It was not until the last maid put down the breakfast and a newspaper that EC began to enjoy it. Looking at the newspaper on the side, EC opened the newspaper and checked it while eating breakfast. As soon as the newspaper was opened, EC saw the headline on the front page of a picture of himself cleaning up those pirates with a knife yesterday. His brows were slightly raised. EC's eyes moved down involuntarily, and suddenly, a few black lines flowed out from his forehead. Shock. A prince started killing in Sabaody Archipelago. Is this a distortion of human nature or a loss of morality? Seeing this title, EC's eyes twitched. Shockbody. This world also has this thing? And at first glance, this title is very misleading. I don't know. I thought I was a murderer. although the content inside reports the cause and effect in detail. However, EC still had a secret memory of Morgan's in his heart. However, EC also knew that if there was no absolute certainty, it would be best not to shoot Morgan's. After all, EC is very clear about the power of public opinion. Thinking of this, EC briefly glanced at other sections of the newspaper. Then, after finding no other interesting things, EC put down the newspaper in his hand and concentrated on breakfast. However, EC's heart was thinking about how to deal with Morgan's. After all, no matter the world, intelligence is important. Don't look at Morgan's World Economic News just doing news. But the number of reporters and trainee reporters scattered across the sea is innumerable, even because selling news can get a fortune. There are quite a few ordinary people who, although not journalists, will sell news for the sake of money. Therefore, the intelligence of the World Economic News Agency can be said to be enormous. And EC is also eyeing a piece of fat. However, EC knew very well that if Morgan's were so well controlled, they would have been controlled by the world government long ago. So, EC needs to think long term. There's only one chance to make a shot, so you need to be cautious and cautious. While EC was having a leisurely breakfast, at this time, Kazan's warship has also arrived at Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Yesterday, after EC dealt with the pirates, Kazan took over the rest of the work. It's just that, as a lazy salted fish, of course Kazan can drag it as long as he can. Therefore, after a day's delay, Kazan returned to Naval Headquarters on a warship this morning. Kazan Vice Admiral, Sengoku Admiral asked you to come to his office. As soon as the warship stopped at the dock, a soldier on duty at the dock hurriedly ran to Kazan and gave a military salute. I see. Hearing this, Kazan could only helplessly pull up his blindfold. Slowly getting up from his seat, Kazan walked slowly towards Admiral's office. Along the way, Marines can be seen hurrying to and fro throughout the Naval Headquarters. And Kazan, who exudes a lazy atmosphere, seems a little out of place. Knock knock. Walking to Admiral's office, Kazan knocked gently on the door. Come in. As a voice came out, Kazan pushed the door and entered. Sengoku Admiral. At this time, in the office, Sengoku, wearing a pair of frog glasses, also saw Kazan's figure. Kazan, you are finally willing to come back. Holding up his glasses, Sengoku put down the document in his hand and glanced at Kazan. Hearing this, Kazan scratched his hair and couldn't help but look at the ceiling. Sengoku Admiral, isn't this just finished? Hearing Kazan's words, Sengoku's face sank. Do you think I don't know? How is it? What do you think of the gorgeous giant ship for so many days? Don't you know that as a Marine, you have to keep your distance from people who are not members of the Alliance? Do you know that letting the 5 elders know that you have such a good relationship with someone from a non-joined country will affect your promotion to Admiral? Hearing this, Kazan was silent for a while before speaking. Sengoku Admiral, I'm just curious about that boy. That boy was only about 10 years old, and his strength was already comparable to the Vice Admiral of the headquarters. If you can win Marine with his talent, he will become an admiral in the future. It's just a pity that he refused because he wanted to inherit the kingdom. Hearing this, Sengoku's face stiffened slightly. Are you serious? Staring at Kazan, Sengoku looked serious. Although I know the information that he killed the pirates with one sword, are you sure that his strength has reached the level of Vice Admiral of the headquarters? Hearing this, Kazan nodded. I can guarantee this. After all, I've had a brief discussion with him before. In this regard, Sengoku's eyes could not help but fall on the newspaper on the desk next to him. That's in today's paper, and Sengoku also saw what was on the front page. However, Sengoku did not receive the detailed information of Sabaody Archipelago, because Kazan was in Sabaody Archipelago at that time, and the big and small things were reported to Kazan at that time. So, after seeing the report in the newspaper today, Sengoku thought it was an exaggeration. After all, Morgan's, the Birdman's paper, likes to exaggerate a lot of things except for some big events. Over time, Sengoku will have subconscious thoughts when he sees the newspaper of the World Economic News. 10 years old, the strength of Vice Admiral of the headquarters, this kind of talent, is really a monster. After whispering to himself, Sengoku immediately asked Kazan about EC's information in detail. Kazan, Since you've been on his boat for so long, let me know what you know. Hearing this, Kazan nodded, pulled a chair, and sat down. After pondering for a while, after organizing the language, Kazan said, "The first encounter was when they cleaned up a pirate group. At that time, I was curious about why the sea area turned into ice, so I went there. Then, after some conversations, we took a downwind boat. Then, after my understanding, After Kazan succinctly said a series of information he knew, Sengoku also listened carefully. After listening to Kazan's report, Sengoku picked up the newspaper on the side and looked at the photo that made the headlines on the front page. The only prince of Helios Kingdom, Master Haki, is also a swordsman. Moreover, there are 4 demon fruit powers under its seat, 3 Zoan and 1 Paramecia cold fruit. Looking at the photo, Sengoku couldn't help but sigh. It seems that the kingdom of Helios is about to rise. With the talent of this kid, as long as he is not killed halfway, he will definitely become the pillar of Helios Kingdom. Unfortunately, it seems that there is no way for him to join our marine at present." Shaking his head, Sengoku took another look at EC's face in the newspaper photo. Then he put the newspaper into the mouth of the goat who was chewing on the documents, and didn't say anything about it. Turning his head to look at Kuzan beside him, Sengoku pondered for a while before speaking. "Let's end this little brat's business for now. In the future, Kazan, you have to remember, don't get too close to people from non-joined countries. Right now, Marshal Kong is busy with the promotion of the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies. After the promotion of the air marshal, the position of naval headquarters will also undergo great changes. The next 3 admiral positions, although you and Sakazuki and Pagliusolino have enough strength. However, you cannot advance to the rank of admiral if your military merit is insufficient or if the 5 elders are not satisfied. So, pay attention to your words and deeds, and don't get caught by the people of the CP organization." Hearing this, Kazan responded softly, "Got it, Sengoku, Admiral." Seeing this, Sengoku nodded his head slightly with satisfaction. "Next, you have to perform more tasks and save a lot of military merit for yourself. Not to mention Sakazuki. He's basically on a mission day and night now. Among the 3 of you, Sakazuki has accumulated the most military merit. Besides that, even Pagliusolino is more diligent than you. Among the 3 of you, only your military merit is the lowest. Starting tomorrow, take action. Kazan, do you understand?" Hearing Sengoku's words, Kazan hurriedly stood up and saluted. "Understood, Sengoku, Admiral." "Very good." Seeing this, Sengoku waved his hand gently. "Go down and rest first, and start moving tomorrow." Hearing this, Kazan nodded, saluted Sengoku again, and turned to leave Sengoku's admiral office. Sengoku looked at the back of Kazan's departure, and couldn't help but think of the changes in Kazan over the past few years. With a light sigh, Sengoku lowered his head again and started working on the files on his desktop. 28. Passing by the Fishmen Island. Otoji's induction, Sabaody Archipelago. At this time, just after EC finished breakfast, Dylan's figure came to EC's side. "Your Highness, the coding has been completed." Bowing his head slightly, Dylan whispered beside EC. "Oh, is it done?" Hearing this, EC's eyes lit up slightly. "I didn't expect that the efficiency of this coding factory would be so fast." However, what EC didn't know was that because of the bloody scene where he slaughtered a large number of pirates with 1 knife yesterday, he made Kamui. Now, those nearby who have seen it with their own eyes are afraid of EC from the bottom of their hearts. And the owner of the coding factory was one of those who witnessed the bloody scene with his own eyes. So, after EC handed Dawn's coding to his coding factory for completion, the owner of this coding factory has only one idea in his heart. That is to complete the coding as soon as possible and send EC and others away. As a result, the coding was carried out day and night, and the coding of this huge ship was completed. However, EC didn't really care about it. "By the way, have you checked?" As if thinking of something, EC asked Dylan something. Hearing this, Dylan understood the meaning of EC's words. "Don't worry, Your Highness, everyone on the boat took turns to supervise yesterday. Also, I and Avery have already checked several times just now." There's absolutely nothing wrong with those waterproofing membranes. After hearing Dylan's words, EC nodded slightly. If that's the case, then prepare to dive. Notify the navigator and the helmsman not to stop at the Fishman Island and go directly to the waters of the New World. Although Dylan was a little puzzled when he heard the words, he still took orders and left. In this regard, EC did not explain too much. Actually, there's a reason why EC doesn't want to dock at the Fishman Island. Now, in the Fishman Island, Princess Otoji is still there. EC is still a little apprehensive about her natural observation Haki. Because Princess Otoheim's observation Haki was born with special abilities. She was born observation Haki is very powerful, can sense the thoughts and emotions of others, and hear the inner voice of others. And it can convey the consciousness of Princess Otoheim herself to others, influence the minds and thoughts of others, and have a strong resonance. It can even change the other's values and ideology. This extremely special observation Haki of the highest level, EC now has no confidence to resist her observation Haki probe. If she finds out, EC knows that Shirahoshi, who is now 3 years old, is the ancient weapon of this generation, Poseidon. Well, even if Princess Otoheim is called a loving person, she might use her own observation Haki on EC in order to protect Shirahoshi. Even though the odds are very low, EC doesn't dare to gamble on the odds. EC didn't want to become a person with a completely changed mind in the future. Thinking of that result, EC couldn't help shivering. Therefore, EC did not plan to land on the Fishman Island before he was ready. After all, EC, a traveler, has opened a plug-in for the treasure of the king. However, EC is not invincible, so everything should be carefully before growing up. Shaking his head, EC retracted his thoughts, slowly got up, and left the restaurant. On the front deck of the Dawn, EC found a spot at random and sat down. Looking at the busy sailors around, EC also waited curiously. Speaking of which, EC also saw the existence of a waterproof membrane for the first time. So, EC just waited quietly for Dawn to dive. Woohoo, as time went by, gusts of wind began to blow along the coast. EC looked at the dark clouds in the distance. No surprise, a violent storm will soon come to Sabaody Archipelago. However, at this moment, in front of EC's eyes, a translucent but tough-looking bubble slowly rose from the bottom of Dawn. Then, the continuous ascent eventually turned into a spherical shape that wrapped the entire Dawn in waterproof bubbles. At this moment, EC also felt that the pirate world was really amazing. It stands to reason that, like this kind of bubble film without the slightest gap, the oxygen inside will be quickly exhausted. However, EC's observation Haki can clearly perceive that the surface of this spherical bubble film seems to be a living creature. The tiny movements that are completely invisible to the naked eye are constantly rising and falling, as if the surface of the bubble wrap is breathing. Boom! Wow, at this time, there was a roar of thunder. Then, the pouring rain suddenly fell. Bang, bang, bang. Looking up, EC and everyone on the deck could clearly hear the heavy blow. This shows how violent this sudden rainstorm is. The raindrops landed on the bubble wrap, and the sound was a dull thumping sound. And the bubble film is also extremely tough, and there is no way for the rain to fall into the Dawn through the bubble film. Dylan, tell me to go down and start diving when you're ready. After watching for a while, EC stopped watching, but gave a command to Dylan, who was not far away. In response, Dylan turned around to convey EC's order. Not long after, the Dawn sounded a whistle. Alert everyone on board that the Dawn is about to start. Then, as the hull tilted slightly forward, soon, under the watchful eyes of EC and others, the Dawn passed through the sea and entered the sea. Gollum's small bubbles continued to rise around the bubble wrap. As the Dawn dived deeper and deeper, gradually the sunlight began to fade. Until the end, there was no trace of sunlight in the surrounding seawater. The Fishman Island is 10,000 meters under the sea, and there is sunshine on the Fishman Island. Sunlight comes from the sun tree Eve. This is a strange tree with a height of tens of thousands of meters. The sun tree Eve grows in the middle of the Alkaman mangroves. The tree tops above the sea can absorb sunlight, and conduct it to their roots. Its roots in the deep sea emit a strong light like sunlight, and the location of this root is within the Fishman Island. At this time, as the dawn dived deeper and deeper, a ray of light gradually appeared in the eyes of Issei and others. He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the ray of light in the distance. If nothing else, it was the Fishman Island. As the direction of dawn was slightly adjusted, its sailing direction gradually moved towards the position of the Fishman Island. This time, Issei and others had good luck. At least they didn't encounter any attacks from sea kings or sea beasts. Dawn gradually approached the Fishman Island and then sailed directly around the Fishman Island in another direction. When passing by the Fishman Island, Issei's eyesight can also observe some situations of the Fishman Island. In Issei's eyes, a huge double-layer semicircular membrane shield can be seen surrounding the entire the Fishman Island. Moreover, at this moment, in addition to the Dawn, there are also some Sabeti archipelago-coated ships following the path into the Fishman Island. I saw that the coating of those ships would automatically peel off and merge with the shield on the island the moment they entered, and the ships would dock beside the pier. In addition, Issei can also see some buildings in the Fishman Island through the translucent semicircular bubble. Luxurious palaces, huge squares, coral bays, scattered buildings, streets where people come and go. Issei observed it carefully for a while, then lay down on the reclining chair beside him. The magical the Fishman Island, Issei will go in sooner or later to take a look. Now, after a simple observation, Issei is no longer paying attention. Lying on the deck chair with eyes closed, Issei waited for the dawn to arrive at the new world through the underwater cave. At this time, what Issei didn't know was that at this time the Fishman Island Dragon Palace Mermaid Princess Shirahoshi's bedroom. A mermaid with wavy medium-length hair and a robe with a goldfish scale pattern suddenly stood up from her position. Aji, what happened? Aside, wearing a crown, the current King Neptune with a sturdy figure was shocked and hurriedly asked Otoji. I seem to feel it, son. This figure. Can't be wrong. I can feel it. Tolerance, light, justice, holiness, mercy, hope. As if Otoheim didn't hear Neptune's question, she muttered to herself with a surprised expression. At this moment, Neptune looked at Shirahoshi, who was already asleep, and at Otoheim, who was talking to himself, with a few question marks popping up in his head. Otome, Otome. Although I don't know what Otoheim said to herself. However, Neptune still called to Otoji with a worried expression on his face. His Majesty. As Neptune kept calling, Otoheim slowly recovered. Without time to explain, Otoji quickly walked out of Shirahoshi's bedroom and looked up outside the Fishman Island with the knowledge she used subconsciously. Behind him, Neptune walked out quickly because he was worried that Otoheim also walked out. Looking in Otoji's direction, Neptune immediately looked beyond the Fishman Island. As the great knight of the sea, Neptune also has some strength. At this time, when Neptune looked out of the Fishman Island, he seemed to see a huge ship with a length of 100 meters in a trance. Rubbing his eyes subconsciously, Neptune felt that he must have read it wrong. However, when Neptune looked over again, this time, Neptune knew that he was indeed right. The giant ship that passed by the Fishman Island was indeed more than 100 meters long. That's right, it's there. On the side, Otoheim's voice sounded again. That figure with the warmth of the sun. Why don't you stop at the Fishman Island for a while? At this moment, there was a slight sigh in Otoji's tone. Seeing that the giant ship completely disappeared, Otoheim sighed softly, turned and walked back to Shirahoshi's bedroom. 29 arrived at New World and was besieged by pirates at this time in Shirahoshi's bedroom. Neptune looked at Otoheim with a slightly sad expression on his face and couldn't help asking softly, Otoheim, did you just discover something? That giant ship. Neptune also knew that Otoheim was born with a special observation Haki awakened. Therefore, after seeing Otoji's current appearance, Neptune knew that Otoji must have discovered something. On the side, after hearing her husband Neptune's words, Otoji couldn't help but regain her senses. Turning her head to look outside Shirahoshi's palace, Otoji sighed and explained, I just felt a figure with a warm aura all over me. Hearing this, Neptune was slightly taken aback. The figure of a warm breath. In response, Adaji nodded her head lightly and continued. Just now, when little Shirahoshi fell asleep, my special ability found a figure passing by the Fishman Island. That figure, just above the giant ship we saw just now. I felt a breath like the sun on him. Like that rumored Joey Boyle. His body contains tolerance, light, justice, holiness, mercy, hope. In my perception, he seems to be like a rising sun. As Odoheim's words continued to fall, Neptune's expression gradually became serious. Joey boy. He looked at Shirahoshi, who was sleeping beside him, and Neptune's brows began to knit together tightly. Did you feel the presence of Shirahoshi? On the side, Otoji didn't hear Neptune's voice, and at this time, Otoji continued to speak. I can clearly feel his tolerance and love for the Fishman Island. But, I don't know why, but his heart seems to be a little bit resistant to entering the Fishman Island. I can't figure out, why wouldn't he stay if he liked it here? Having said that, Otoji could not help but shed 2 lines of clear tears. Her dream is to hope that the Murlocs and mermaids can coexist peacefully with other races, and that the people of the Fishman Island can land on land to enjoy the real sunshine. For this reason, over the years, in order to get closer to and understand human beings, Odoheim has taken the initiative to contact those humans who have arrived at the Fishman Island, taking personal actions as an example of coexisting with human beings. And, in addition to leading the soldiers to rescue the people on the ship in distress, he also taught the children of the Fishman Island about land. In addition, Odoheim also promoted the signing activity of emigration to the land to the residents of the Fishman Island, and prepared to express the appeal of emigration to land at the World Summit. It's a pity. Residents of the Fishman Island were affected by the news of Fisher Tiger's death and demanded that Odoheim return their signatures. Today, Odoheim is still working hard for her dream. Today, when I felt this figure filled with warmth, Otoji seemed to see hope again. However, the unstoppable ship once again extinguished Odoheim's hope. Aside, Neptune looked at Otoji, crying with a distressed expression on his face. Reaching out his hand, Neptune gently wiped the tears from the corners of Otoji's eyes. In his mind, he kept thinking about ways to comfort Odoheim. Suddenly, Neptune seemed to remember something, and a flash of light flashed in his mind. He lowered his head, looked at Otoji in his arms, and said, Oiji, since that person needs to take a boat, he must not be a Murloc or a mermaid. Moreover, above this sea, if you want to travel between New World and the first half of the Grand Line, you must pass through us. In this way, if that person dives into the deep sea again, as long as you sense it, we will stop him and invite him to our Dragon Palace City as a guest. What do you think? After speaking, Neptune also asked Odoheim for his opinion. Hearing this, E.G. couldn't help but hesitate a little. She was gentle and kind, and she couldn't help but hesitate for a while. Seeing this, Neptune also understood the character of his wife, so he continued to speak. Oiji, don't you know my character yet? You wouldn't think I would violently intercept that man's boat, would you? And, since that person can bring hope to your dreams, you can't miss it. Don't you want to see the day when your dreams come true? Listening to Neptune's words, Odoheim gradually became firmer from the initial hesitation. Looking up at Neptune, Otoji said solemnly, There must be no violence. Hearing this, Neptune said with a slight smile, Don't worry, that person can bring hope to your dreams. I will definitely invite that person politely. Besides, maybe that person's strength is also very powerful. Although the Fishman Island is on the bottom of the sea, it still poses no threat to the real strong. After hearing this, Otoji slowly let go of her worries. Turning her head slightly, she looked outside Shirahoshi's palace, and Odoheim couldn't help but whisper in her heart, He who is as warm as the sun. I must meet you. On the other hand, EC at this time did not know what happened to the Fishman Island. After passing by the Fishman Island, Dawn quickly passed through the deep-sea cave and entered the New World waters. Not long after, there was a roaring sound of waves. The huge Dawn resurfaced on the sea surface. At the same time, not far from Dawn, There were also several pirate ships suspended. Lying on the deck chair, EC's observation Haki felt the malice coming from those pirate ships. However, before EC could speak, Dylan and Ellie of Grandmaster's two-color Haki had already begun to command the sailors on board. You must know that these sailors were originally soldiers of the kingdom, and they themselves also learned swordsmanship, taijutsu, and two-color Haki. After careful selection, these people will be chosen by King Illo to be the sailors of the dawn. Its strength can be said to be not weaker than the strength of the lieutenant or the non-commissioned officer of the headquarters. Disperse defenses. Be careful of those pirates landing on dawn. The cannon is adjusted and ready to bombard. As the future commander of the 4th Army of the Kingdom, Dylan and others have a mature theoretical foundation and a little combat experience. To deal with these pirates who have just arrived in New World from the first half of the Grand Line, Dylan and others can be said to be able to capture them. Kamui has already been exhibited at Sabeti Archipelago, EC before, although I don't know why these pirate groups would still start working on the dawn. However, under the organization of Dylan and others, those pirate ships could not get close to the dawn at all. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy artillery fire continued to sound. Cannonballs were fired one after another. Damn it, Captain. The gunfire on that giant ship was too intense. Little ones, don't be afraid, just rush forward. The giant ship that kills them is ours. Come on. Oh, long live the captain. Captain, the ship pirates have already launched a charge, and they don't even care about their own ship. Don't let other people look down on our horse urine pirates. Rush to Lousy and kill all those people. Yes, Captain. You want to swallow it alone? The cow-dung pirates obey. Kill this uncle. Kill. Open the cannon. We have to fight back. The captain is not good. The other 3 pirate ships rushed towards that giant ship. Also, we don't have many shells on. Captain, let's rush over too. Is it going to sea just to snatch and snatch? That giant ship is the best match for you, boss. Gia, you guys are right. That giant ship is the best match for this captain. Don't fall behind. Rush to me. Captain wins. The dung pirates are invincible. Come on. On the dawn, Dylan and others watched the 4 pirate ships not retreat, but advance, and their faces suddenly turned cold. The 4 looked at each other, and then stepped on the moonwalk and rushed toward the pirate ship. They can fly. Idiot. That's moonwalk for Marine 6 styles. Gia. I didn't expect that there would be unexpected gains. Dylan had just arrived on the ship of the Dung pirates when he heard the words of the captain of the pirate ship. His face sank slightly, and a lot of cold air came out his body. Air conditioning spreads. Ka. As a large amount of cold air came out instantly, a layer of frost spread out in an instant with Dylan's landing point as the center. It turned out to be demon fruit power. At this time, the captain of the Dung pirates was shocked when he saw Dylan's attack, and then his face couldn't help showing a grin. Yeah. Don't think that you are the only demon fruit power. Lousy is Luo Fei, a manure digger who offers a reward of 80 million. Eat Lousy in 1 hit. Dung fist. Shit you. In an instant, an unparalleled stench rushed into Dylan's nostrils. For a moment, Dylan's face suddenly turned pale. Looking at the big dung fist made of fecal water and fecal particles, Dylan could no longer bear it and tried his best to burst out all the air conditioning in his body. Lung, frost world. Click. On the dawn, EC felt Dylan's runaway mood and couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. When I got up and looked, I saw that the pirate ship where Dylan was instantly turned into an ice sculpture. Then, Dylan walked back on moonwalk with a pale humanoid ice sculpture. Well, at this time, as Dylan returned to the dawn, a strong stench hit his face. Dylan, you are. In a flash, EC pinched his nose and moved away from where Dylan was. Looking at EC, Dylan couldn't help showing a look of embarrassment and anger on his face. He hatefully threw the ice sculpture in his hand on the deck, and Dylan opened his mouth to explain. His Royal Highness, this guy is a man with dung fruit ability. He just used the fruit ability, and I also got some stench on me. Hearing this, EC looked at the ice sculpture on the deck in shock. Matt, there is still such a devil fruit in this world. With a flick of the finger, an ultra-small slash smashed the ice sculpture. After the ice sculpture fragments fell into the treasure of the king, EC said to Dylan, "Go get rid of the smell." Hearing this, Dylan hurriedly left the deck and ran towards the bathroom at high speed. He even used shaving steps on his feet to make himself faster. 30. EC's King's Treasure Trial. Head to comm belt seeing Dylan leave. EC didn't want to take this position either. He pinched his nose and moved directly away from this area. Fortunately, the Dawn is big enough, so the foredeck position is also very spacious. Picking a place far away from the stinking place just now, EC found a chair at random and sat down. Although this dung fruit ability person is disgusting, but now there are no other ability people who can let themselves do experiments. Therefore, EC can only recognize it by pinching his nose. A long time ago, EC wanted to test an idea in his head. The treasure of the king is actually an independent time and space of its own in the true sense. If that's the case, then if you put the corpse of the able person who has just died and store some fruits in the treasure of the king, then will the devil fruit that exists on those who have died will be directly reborn in the treasure of the king? This idea has never had a chance to experiment until now, and now there is. If this operation can really be successful, then those who are capable above the sea will become the prey of EC. After all, it is too difficult to find a devil fruit. The sea is so big that it is difficult to find devil fruit without enough intelligence network. And those demon fruit powers are easy to find. After all, most demon fruit powers are either marines or pirates. However, before the experiment, EC was still a little worried that the experiment would fail. After all, EC doesn't know whether devil fruit will directly cross the space and be reborn on this sea. You must know that there are fruits of time type and space type in devil fruit. Well, about devil fruit's rebirth, EC is worried that this is also related to time and space. If it really involves time and space, then the treasure of the king will definitely be unstoppable. In other words, EC's experiment failed by then. As for another point, after the death of the ability person, devil fruit will immediately leave the ability person or gradually leave the ability person. This is actually very clear in the original Summit War. After Whitebeard dies, if devil fruit is disengaged immediately, it is impossible for Blackbeard to gain shock fruit ability. Therefore, from this point, it can be determined that after the ability person dies, devil fruit is gradually separated from the ability person. However, no one knows the time of this gradual separation. It could be seconds, it could be minutes, it could be hours closer to home. EC began to pay attention to the changes in the king's treasure after confirming that his thoughts were not omissions. Just now, EC directly smashed the ice sculpture. That is, the man with the dung fruit ability has been confirmed dead. After smashing the ice sculpture, EC immediately transferred it into the treasure of the king. Now, EC put his mind on the piles of fruits in the king's treasure and quietly observed the changes of those fruits. Time passed slowly, and at this time, the three of Avery also returned to the Dawn on the moonwalk. EC observation, Haki opened it to feel it, and the rest of the pirates' ships had lost their breath of life. At this time, on the deck, several maids were spraying perfume, trying to get rid of the stench that remained before. Suddenly, EC's brows twitched slightly, and he saw Wang Zhi's treasure. Within that pile of fruits, a peach-shaped fruit began to change. The original ordinary appearance gradually began to appear on the surface of the arabesque spiral pattern. It wasn't until it was covered with the arabesque spiral pattern that the fruit stopped changing. At this time, EC saw this, and with a thought, a noble phantasm embryo descended from the sky and merged with this devil fruit. After sensing that the devil fruit was completely transformed into a noble phantasm, EC turned the palm of his right hand upward. The devil fruit turned into a noble phantasm appeared in EC's palm. Noble phantasm, dung fruit type. Active noble phantasm type. Consuming noble phantasm, liberation. After eating, you can gain the ability to control and generate large feces without side effects. Looking at the information displayed on the noble phantasm in his hand, EC seemed to smell a stench again. Silently put the devil fruit noble phantasm into the deepest part of the king's treasure. EC decided that if it was really unnecessary, the devil fruit should stay in the king's treasure to eat ashes. This kind of devil fruit, which can damage the enemy by 1,000 and lose 800, can only be used when the time comes. To be sure, EC will never use it by itself. However, there's still plans for this devil fruit EC. After all, it is manipulating feces and even generating feces. Wait until you return to the kingdom of Helios and see that the fearless one can sacrifice and eat this devil fruit to contribute to the kingdom's land. After returning the noble phantasm and the dung fruit to the treasure of the king, EC also began to summarize the results of his own experiments. First of all, the treasure of the king can indeed intercept devil fruit rebirth. Secondly, according to EC's calculations, it would take about 5 minutes for a devil fruit to generate a new devil fruit after it leaves the ability. From EC smashing the ice sculpture to kill the ability user, to EC talking to Dylan, to the return of the 3 of Ailey, it takes about 5 minutes to add up. Touching his chin, EC's eyes began to bloom with rays of light. Now that the test is successful, then the plan to hunt and kill capable people will be put on the agenda. Tada Tao. At this time, a navigator trotted towards EC. Your Highness, do you need to land on the initial 3 islands of New World? Huh. Initial Mishima. Hearing this, EC shook his head and replied, No need, just turn straight into the calm belt next to North Blue. We're now in the waters close to the Red Line, and there should be no pirate ships in this area. We're directly on the Red Line, right into the North Blue calm belt. After hearing EC's words, the navigator nodded quickly. Yes, Your Highness. Afterwards, the navigator turned and trotted away again, while EC looked at the sea and fell into contemplation. The so-called starting 3 islands are the 3 islands that the pointer first points to after entering the New World waters through the Fishmen Island. They are Riskald Island, Mysteria Island, and the most dangerous island of Thor. After entering New World, the single record pointer is not easy to use. In New World, the record pointers used are 3-way record pointers that point to 3 different islands. When they first entered the New World, the 3-way record pointers indicated the island of Riskald, the island of Mysteria, and the island of Thor. Therefore, these 3 islands are also called the initial 3 islands of New World. It should be noted that the island of Thor is the most dangerous island among the initial 3 islands. There are thunderstorms and thunderstorms all year round, and the whole island is surrounded by thunderstorms. An umbrella is required to successfully log in. As for the Punk Hazard Island that EC knew in his previous life, it was a hidden island that was not captured by the recording pointer. There were many such islands in New World. After thinking for a while, EC regained his mind. Go get me a phone bug. Turning his head, EC instructed the maid next to him who had refilled himself with a glass of frozen juice. Yes, Your Highness. Hearing this, the maid bowed to EC, then put down the things in her hand and quickly left the deck. At this time, the Dawn had completed the steering and began to sail in the waters of the New World in a straight line. In fact, the reason why EC didn't go deep into the waters of the New World was because he was worried about meeting the 3 Emperor's pirates. P.S. Today, the red-haired Shanks are not 4 Emperors. Although not all sea areas of New World belong to the 3 Emperor's pirates, there are other great pirates besides the 3 Emperor's pirates. However, in New World, with his current strength, he can only say that he has the power to protect himself. It is a little difficult to hunt down demon fruit power here. I'm afraid of encountering the 3 Emperor's pirates in the process of hunting, and now EC is no match for Whitebeard, Kaido, and others. So, be cautious when it's time to be cautious. EC is not the kind of person who travels through the world. Tada Tao. Soon, the maid who had just left returned to EC with a phone bug. Carefully placed the phone bug on the small round table beside. The maid bowed slightly to EC, picked up her things, and left the place. Call the Apocalypse team. After saying a word to the phone bug, EC waited quietly. Speaking of which, the phone bug in the pirate world is really magical. Obviously, there is no dial button, but you can choose to dial someone's phone number. And this one from EC is a bit more advanced than the dial-up phone bug. He is voice-controlled, PS. Mainly because I don't know how the phone worm dials in the original book, so the author directly made a voice control. That's right, this is voice-activated, and the voice-activated phone bug is more intelligent. It can distinguish the calling person mentioned by the phone bug owner, and as long as it has saved the number, it can dial directly. Although the phone bug is amazing, because it is still a living creature after all, its number is limited. Therefore, EC will let the scientific research department develop mobile phones. At that time, the mobile phone can replace the function of the phone bug. As for whether the phone bugs will lose their jobs, there is no need to worry about this. After all, even with mobile phones, some forces will not really believe in such things as mobile phones. Those forces will definitely use phone bugs with cell phones, just to prevent cell phone eavesdropping on confidential information. Blue, 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 the dial tone rang, and EC also waited quietly. Click, this is the Tyankee team. Who is it? Soon, the voice of Aldo, the captain of the Apocalypse Squad, rang out, and the phone bug in front of EC also transformed into the appearance of Aldo. 31. Arrive at North Blue, collect intelligence, and separate flights, it's me. Hearing Aldo's voice, EC responded with a flat face. Opposite the phone bug, when Aldo heard EC's voice, his expression suddenly froze. I have seen your highness. While speaking, Aldo bowed to the phone bug. In response, EC lazily lay on the reclining chair and gave a light response. Is there any news about the task I asked you to do now? Following EC's questioning, Aldo's voice came from inside the phone bug. His Royal Highness, so far, there is no news of op fruit around Mignon Island and its waters. Secondly, according to the investigation over the past year, it was found that the Don Quixote family is now the know. One force in the North Blue underground underworld, mainly dealing in arms trade and slave trade. However, since the inside of the Don Quixote family cannot be penetrated, the intelligence department cannot know exactly what is going on inside the Don Quixote family. Again, that Barrero's pirate group. According to the information from the intelligence department, the pirate group has been living in no fixed place, and it is impossible to master its exact location. Finally, the Vinsmoke family. Now the intelligence department has fully mastered its trajectory. Listening to Aldo's report, EC couldn't help frowning. Over the past year, the Apocalypse Squad has been lurking on Mignon Island, and with the intelligence personnel who have gradually developed and scattered all over the sea, they can only collect so much information. EC was quite dissatisfied with this, but since his family knew his own affairs, the Kingdom Intelligence Department was still too short-lived. So, although he was a little dissatisfied, EC didn't blame anything. After pondering for a while, EC spoke again. Next, you just need to keep an eye on op fruit on Mignon Island and its adjacent waters. Also, if you find that the Don Quixote family or the Barrero's pirates are arriving at Mignon Island, please contact me quickly. I'm heading to North Blue now. You guys be careful. Don't startle the snake. Hearing this, Aldo responded quickly. As ordered. Nodding, EC wasn't about to say anything. After chatting a few words with Aldo, after paying attention to the situation of the members of the Apocalypse team, they disconnected the call. At this time, Dylan, who had cleaned up the odor from his body, had come to EC's side again. As for the three of Irene, they were guarding the left, right, and rear of Dawn. New World is not safe. This is not safe. In addition to sea beasts and pirates, it also includes the weather. In a short time EC had just made the call, Dawn had experienced various bad weather such as hail, torrential rain, and strong winds. In New World, unless they're natural navigators like the original Nami, most navigators cannot completely avoid these changeable weather. The three of Avery and Dylan, who had just returned to the front deck, were to prevent the damage caused by the weather to the Dawn. As Dawn sailed for another stretch of sea, the weather turned to clear skies. At this time, all the talents of the Dawn were lightly relieved. In response, EC shook his head and called Dylan. Dylan, you'll contact the intelligence department later. Let the intelligence department begin to collect information on swordsmen, abilities, scientists, and devil fruit in the 4 Seas and the first half of the Grand Line, and prioritize the transmission of North Blue-related information to Dawn. When the dawn crosses the calm belt and reaches North Blue, you will disperse with Avery, She-Mastiff, and Orton. You each lead a group of sailors and a helmsman to share intelligence with the intelligence department. Go to North Blue to collect swordsman's swords. Remember, don't reveal your own identities when collecting. Then, it is to capture those capable people alive. Although there are not many capable people in the four seas, one could be counted as one. Then, it is to invite those scientists, whether it is for profit or using various technologies of the scientific research department. We must impress those scientists and take them away. Finally, there is the news about devil fruit without a master. If there is news, go see if you can get it. If there is no news, it doesn't matter. After all, you can now hunt for those with the ability to obtain devil fruit. Wait a minute. You and Avery have negotiated the course of action on their own. Finally, the meeting place is Mignon Island, and the meeting time is a month later. After listening to EC's instructions, Dylan quickly nodded in response. Yes, Your Highness. Seeing this, EC didn't say anything, but waved his hand to indicate that he could leave. Upon seeing this, Dylan saluted EC, then turned around to contact the intelligence department to discuss with the three of Avery. EC squinted at the white clouds in the sky, and his mind kept flowing with the kendo insights of Pluton swordsmanship and sea burial swordsmanship. Now, EC can liberate the noble phantasm directly in the king's treasure without holding the noble phantasm in his hand. Although his strength has reached the bottleneck now, the development of the vampire fruit and the development of the king's treasure has not stopped. With each passing day, EC made some progress in his abilities. No matter how much progress is made, EC develops his own abilities every day without fail. EC wasn't too worried about the task that Dylan and others had just arranged. Don't think of the world as the Grand Line. The strength of the world, the strength of the headquarters rear admiral of Dylan and others can be said to be more than enough, even if it is a swordsman in the world, unless it is a hidden swordsman like Koshiro. Otherwise, the average swordsman's strength in the four seas is at the level of rear admiral at most. As for these people, Dylan and the four were able to solve it on their own. So, EC is not very worried about it. Now, all EC needs to do is to use Pluton's swordsmanship first. This kind of thing, no matter what, is not too much. Since Dawn entered the waters of the New World, it has been sailing straight along the red line towards the calm belt close to North Blue. Because a lot of supplies have been replenished at Sabeti Archipelago, the Dawn has no shortage of supplies even if it has not stopped all the way. After half a month, Dawn sailed all the way to the edge of the calm belt. On this road, as EC expected, there is no trace of the pirates in the waters close to the red line. Therefore, Dawn can sail on the sea of New World without any hindrance. Enter the calm belt area. The Dawn will start the fuel engine and consume the fuel that has been prepared to power the Dawn. Drive within the calm belt. Because a lot of sea stone is installed on the bottom of Dawn, therefore, you can drive in the calm belt unimpeded all the way. Perhaps because of good luck, EC did not see a single sea kings floating out of the sea on the way. After 7 days, Dawn sailed out of the calm belt and arrived in the North Blue waters. Feeling the flow of the wind again, everyone on Dawn couldn't help squinting their eyes comfortably. Only those who have been in the calm belt know that well. If you're in a place where there is no wind, then your own feeling is really very uncomfortable. In daily life, human skin will feel the wind, large or small, all the time. But at calm belt, nothing but a little breeze brought about by his own behavior. If there is no movement by itself, there will be no wind flow around the body at all. That kind of feeling that there is no wind flow, as if the pores of your own skin can't breathe. Therefore, when they arrived at North Blue and felt the breeze flow again, everyone could not help but sigh. Sure enough, the windy world is more comfortable. Under the voyage of navigators, the Dawn stayed in an uninhabited sea. At this point, EC was sitting at the bow of the boat, watching Dylan, Avery, and the others begin to release the sub-ship. EC had already ordered it long ago, and Dylan has also discussed with the three of Avery and decided the priority of the process and tasks. So, now that they arrive at North Blue, they have to start moving. Below the deck of the Dawn, there are several small sub-ships. In this world with great power, Dylan and others don't need any tools at all. They saw 4 ships that were more than 10 meters long and 5 meters wide, and they were lifted one by one and thrown into the sea. Afterwards, with the manpower and supplies already allocated, Dylan and the others stood on their respective bows and saluted EC. The canvas was opened, and 4 small sailboats slowly sailed away from the dawn in different directions. EC sat on the bow and watched Dylan and the others leave quietly. After the subship was completely invisible, the Dawn set sail again and sailed towards the position of Mignon Island. Op fruit is the most important thing anyway. Therefore, EC did not collect all kinds of things like Dylan and others. For op fruit, EC did not plan to eat it himself, but had a new idea. EC intends to eat op fruit on a fully equipped operating table. In the original work, the content of items eating devil fruit appeared. There's not much explanation in the original book on how the item eats devil fruit. It may be because the weapon happened to be inserted into devil fruit, and then some pulp went deep into the weapon, and devil fruit mistakenly thought it was eaten. So this weapon had the power of devil fruit. It may also be because of Vegapunk's black technology that non-biological objects can also eat devil fruit to obtain abilities, such as bloodline factors or life design diagrams. However, if it is really the black technology of Vegapunk, then the Dachshund Dog Lesu of the Baroque War Club in the original book does not know how to explain it. After all, Vegapunk does not have any contact with the Baroque Work Society. Vegapunk is strictly protected by the world government. Therefore, it is still unclear how devil fruit eats the items. However, EC can rely on the treasure of the king to do it. As long as the items in devil fruit are all turned into noble phantasms, and then the 2 noble phantasms are fused, the items can be eaten perfectly by devil fruit. Thus, the item has the special ability of devil fruit. 32. Mignon Island, which is in winter all year round in the original book. There are only 5 items EC can remember. Demon fruit power. The first is the Dachshund, Lasu. This is a strange-looking Dachshund. It was originally the favorite gun of Mr. 4, the cadre of the Baroque War Club, and it can transform into a Dachshund after eating the dog fruit, the Dachshund form. Not only can it understand human speech like a dog, but it can also spit out a time bomb. Then Mr. 4 swings the bat and hits it out. It is a good partner for Mr. 4. The second, the alpaca guns, Alpagachino. This gun was originally the weapon of Inoi Marine Captain Shuzo, but it turned into an alpaca after eating the fruit of the alpaca. Not only can it spit shells, but it can also add armament Haki to the shells it fires, which is extremely powerful. The third, like the sword, Van Kefrid. It was originally the saber of the CP9 Commander Spandam, and after eating the fruit of the elephant, it can become an elephant with a sword trunk. It can even turn into a half-beast shape, extending the blade to attack the enemy. With the strength of an elephant and the sharpness of a sword, and its attack power is extremely strong. Fourth, the gas group slime. It was originally a poisonous gas mass created by Guy, who ate the salamander fruit, the hexagonal form, and turned into a liquid salamander. It is also capable of self-awareness and self-action, and can understand Guy's orders. Fifth, the civet cat teapot. In the Wana Kuni chapter, Xiaoyu's family has a living teapot, and many people speculate that it also ate devil fruit. In fact, Oda has revealed in the SBS Q&A that this is a teapot in the form of a civet cat that ate the fruit of a dog. I don't know what the fighting power is, but the appearance is still very cute. The above 5 are the 5 items, demon fruit power, that EC memorized based on his past life memories. Among them, EC also found a common feature. That is, these items that eat devil fruit have produced considerable wisdom. Not only can he understand orders, but also his own emotions. You know, the original items are completely dead, but after eating devil fruit, it can have the ability like life. Is it understandable that all devil fruits actually contain some kind of will? Or consciousness? So if devil fruit really contains some kind of will or consciousness, does that mean it may be like in the previous life, Shioshin novel, you can take the demon fruit power? Thinking of this, EC couldn't help shivering. He quickly used observation Haki to observe his body, and after double-checking, he even used the treasure of the king to test his vampire fruit ability. After realizing that there was really no movement, EC let out a light breath. As for the vampire fruit, of course, it was not extracted. After all, it is necessary to rely on the ability of the phantom beast to strengthen its own physique. However, EC also put down some concerns after confirming the absolute dominance of the treasure of the king. As long as his king's treasure can absolutely dominate all noble phantasms, then EC will not panic at all. However, as soon as the idea of grabbing the house appeared, EC seemed to have caught something. I always felt as if I knew something incredible. Shaking his head vigorously, EC suppressed all these messy thoughts in the deepest part of his mind to prevent himself from thinking wildly. Taking a deep breath, this is not the time for me to think about these unrealistic questions. Now, the most important thing is to go step by step according to your own plan. As long as you are strong enough, you believe that you can definitely get in touch with the truth of the world. After calming down, EC stopped thinking about devil fruit-related things. Directly liberating the two sword-like treasures in the treasure of the king, EC continued to start the state of swordsmanship practice. Mignon Island, east of North Blue Cayenne Island. It also has another name, the Barren Island, because the
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.